What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream on a lovely Wednesday evening. And I had a little AI thing. I tried to go over Miami Vice theme, and for whatever reason, every time I did it, it had Vash cowering in the back seat. I didn't tell it to do it. I don't know why it was doing it, but I was like, I can't do anything about it. I'm not good enough for that stuff yet. But welcome to the stream. We have some good topics to go over. We've got a great panel here as well. So before we get into anything else, introduce the panel here. We'll say hi to the chat. And we'll get into this. So OG, Orange Grove 55, thank you for being here as always. Where can everybody find you out here on this never controversial internet that we know as YouTube?
Oh, always peaceful. Always peaceful. Always. Absolutely. But yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's going to be awesome talking shop with Mr. Drew, the Disney dude. But you can find me right here on YouTube talking theme park, studio, corporate side, all that good stuff. I actually just released a video with Mr. Seymour Duck about the, we talked box office. We talked about the Nintendo Direct stuff. So really good time. So check that one out. And you can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and also on X.
Absolutely. I did see the Ocarina of Time's getting a remake. I was kind of hyped about that. That'll be very interesting. We're, of course, joined by Mr. Vash Sky. Vash, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you and your growing channel?
Yes, growing channel, rapidly growing channel. We just hit 7,000, which is an unbelievable accomplishment. I want to go ahead and thank each and every one of you out there for making that possible. Thank you. You can find me at the Vash Sky ParkCast, where we just had an amazing live stream talking about Walt Disney World trash cans. Yeah, that came up, and it's a very interesting discussion because there might be a little bit more to that than the company's letting on. That I thought was very, very interesting to go through. But we had a myriad of topics today, so you can go ahead and check out that live stream. Tomorrow, we're going to be live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be Thursday right there, talking all about, I don't know, maybe Tomorrowland, actually, because there's some interesting stuff going on there on both coasts. Very interesting to go over that. So that's going to be really, really cool. And then we also have our members only stream on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Vash and Vixen, which, by the way, I see her in the chat. So that's very, very cool. Definitely check out the Vash Sky ParkCast and Vash Sky on X.
I need to step up my jingle music here.
You want to have a roadcaster off, Vash?
West Side.
all I have is the office constantly. Yeah, I just have that, just a bunch of office stuff randomly on there. Although I did a video on Tomorrowland for Disney World. I was going to ask you guys, and we could talk, maybe we'll get into this later, but if Disneyland as well. So that is interesting because it's kind of like a low-key remake, maybe. We'll see what's going on there.
We're seeing some changes there.
Yeah, we'll see it, absolutely. But for the first time on Theme Parking as well, we're joined by Mr. Drew, the Disney dude. Thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you out on the internet as well?
Yeah, my main goal has just been to be everywhere this year. Like every major platform, Substack. So wherever you guys consume content, I am probably on that platform with the exception of Blue Sky. So I guess just thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk to all of you. It's a fun group of people, and I like having these conversations because it's not just news. We actually get to have actual thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we you know what? We'll give an insightful take followed by just random nonsense. That's just kind of the it's just it's like a wave a little bit. You're right here and there, but no, thank you for being here, man. It'll be a good conversation. We'll say hi to the chat real quick. We got Kiki and Luca. What's up, Kiki and Luca? We got Juliet as well. Morning Vash Sky ParkCast and Skyliners with a €2, I believe. I think that's €1.
£2 sterling. Thanks, Juliet.
All I knew was not American. I don't know the differences in my brain. We got Rudio here says, cool Miami Nights. He also said Vash is a growing boy with a growing channel. So, I mean.
That's true.
And then we got Real Ventures. And Ill Magic had a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Ill Magic. As yo, what it do? How you guys are? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing pretty well. I think. How are you? Are you guys doing good? You know, you guys want to go through some stuff, some sessions.
Yeah.
Got beef.
Over here.
We got another. Ill Magic actually just sent you another. I think your channel. Yep, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Ill Magic another 5. He goes, what if the Mummy ride was placed in Dark Universe for another ride in Universal Studios? I mean, that's interesting. Although I did see Brendan Fraser's getting in really good shape again for the Mummy, and I was like, yeah, I like that. I liked him in George of the Jungle. He was like ripped. Like that's the Brendan Fraser I remember as a kid, at least.
Top tier Brendan Fraser right there.
Oh, and that and Encino Man. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, that's true. He had a good run. I still love the Mummy movies. Those are like one of those movies you just put on and just enjoy it. I've always liked that. But, I mean, they could. I mean, I don't imagine the Mummy goes anywhere just because it's still a ride that it gets moderate demand over there at Universal. It does pretty well. My wife really likes that ride. But before we did anything, I was going to mention to you guys, I did get the Indy hat, which apparently this thing is really hard to find. I did not realize it was that big because when I went, I was going to try and go. We were in Orlando from like Wednesday till Friday, and I wanted to go Wednesday night. And I couldn't make it, and I was like, it's going to be sold out. So we didn't get to Hollywood Studios until like 5 o'clock, and they have the little indie section, which I'm going to say the indie stuff looks awesome. They got like his leather jacket. You can get the fedora, you can get the whip, but it's Florida, so I didn't really want to get a leather jacket. But I asked the cast members, they didn't know anything about the hat. And I was like, they're probably sold out. And as I was walking out, I saw a shelf with like 5 hats on it. And I was like, oh, and I look over and it was there. They were gone within like an hour. But I also did order and get the Holy Grail online. Although I can't drink from it. It'll make me sick, apparently.
That's okay. It looks sick, though. It looks really dope.
I know.
But I'm bummed.
Yeah, exactly. It'll make you sick, but it looks sick.
Well, still, everybody
knows
a drink from it. Just somebody has to come in and be like, he chose very poorly. And then I
there you go.
Actually, when I was a teenager, I made the dumbest mistake of my entire life. Me and my buddy were out in my backyard. We had like a fire pit and stuff, and we okay, we're gonna do like marshmallows and stuff, like campfire stuff, right?
Right.
We're chilling back there, and we didn't have any like wood, so I put a couple Duraflames, those Duraflame logs. We started roasting marshmallows over those, and those are chemically treated. So my mom was like, "What are you doing? Stop eating that."
Is it cool to cook s'mores over like a green flame? You're like, that's totally fine.
Hey, it's all good, right?
It's gonna be just fine. Just late night. It just doesn't quite work right there.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a kid, though, it's like whatever. Especially the 90s, so much stuff I look back on, I was like, why did my mom let me do that? I couldn't imagine that stuff. But all right, let's get into our first topic. Wait, by the way, we got Mr. Webba in the house. What's up, Webba? Yeah,
Webba the legend.
Hit that like button if you wouldn't mind. That'd be great. All right, we got Drew here for around an hour. So we want to pick Drew's brain because we've had a lot of conversations around Villains Land, Imagineering, current Imagineering, all this stuff. And Drew has a little bit more insight than us. So instead of just pontificating randomly into the void, we'll talk to Drew about this. So
let's do it.
To lay this out, we're going to first talk about Villains Land. And so a lot of the speculation on Villains Land, at least the more recent stuff, stems from this Wrap article where they were talking about how apparently there was a change of direction and they were going much more toward, kiddie, family-friendly attractions like Emperor's New Groove Coaster, stuff like that, which at the time we all talked about it. We were just like, I don't know about that. That seems odd. But I think Drew has some different information. So is it true, Drew the Disney dude, that Disney is actually looking to go more family-friendly with this? Are they using the Emperor's New Groove, or is that completely bunk?
It's all BS, thankfully. And I also want to be very clear that this is not me attacking Drew Taylor at the Wrap by any means, because he's actually a fantastic writer. Like, I have a lot of respect for Drew and what he's done just in his career. But at the same time, like, when I'm thinking towards what's coming with D23 and just how highly anticipated this land is, I don't want people to not be excited because of rumors that aren't accurate. So I tried to very carefully walk this line with my YouTube video, being like, well, these plans are not the plans, because those aren't plans. The rumors are not true. And like, just to be excited for D23, because that's when I think we're getting the final like reveals of what's actually happening. So I'm not attacking Drew by any means. There's no Drew on Drew crime right here by any means. But
the Drews are fighting.
But yeah, like I just felt there was an opportunity to get a correct narrative out there that no, the final plans have not been revealed yet. They've had a consistent creative vision since day one, and while we don't know what they're building yet, we'll know what they're building in about 65 days from now. So personally, I'm very excited to learn about what's coming here, but it's not family friendly. It's not Emperor's New Groove or Maleficent Boat Ride by any means. It's I think it's pretty much been the same from day one, and somehow this got out there. I don't know if it's Disney trying to put a fake leak out to fire people that are leaking information. Maybe it was a plant.
That's possible.
Yeah, but I know it's not true. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, and Drew, you made a great video on this, and we did a reaction with Mr. I did a reaction with Mr. Weva. Yeah,
a casual 1 hour reaction for a 12-minute video or whatever it was.
You know what I'm saying?
Pause every frame.
Yeah, Chris was definitely like, this Drew Smith guy, he's an absolute fool. We're getting that Emperor's New Groove roller coaster. I cannot believe it.
No, I was actually really happy with what you were saying, because the Emperor's New Groove thing, it's not that it's a bad franchise, right? It's just that, like,
it's a little too niche.
It's what, I'm sorry?
It's a little bit too niche, in my opinion, for Magic Kingdom.
100%. And especially when you have a land like Villain's Land, there's a lot at stake here with this land. And you have a roster of villains that are legendary. And you only have a couple of rides that you can build in this land. And to pick the niche thing, like you were saying, Drew, just didn't feel right. The family-friendly thing, I mean, I'm not asking for, like, blood splatters on the wall or anything crazy. Like, I'm not saying HHN. But this land should have a little bit of an edge to it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it in your video. Like, Magic Kingdom is full of a bunch of stuff for the kiddos. It's okay for this land to have a little bit more of an older demo. I think that's fine. And it's in the back of the park too, you know? So
yeah.
I think it's great.
That was always the thing about Villains Land. I've always said, if you're looking at this, and I know Imagineers, I've talked to a few that they're going to go look at Dark Universe, because, like, why would you not go look? But the idea that you would create Dark Universe kind of 2.0, it's like they have a much more narrow thread, trying to needle that thread a little bit of, like, not too family friendly, but not too scary. I do think it's more of a challenge. But yeah, when I first heard the Emperor's New Groove, I was like, really? Like that? Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. But I think that, like, Villains Land to me is the land that probably has the most potential in terms of, like, real game changers for Disney. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to be coming, like, I don't know when it's going to be done, but it's going to be the last thing to open. But it would be cool to have it a little bit more edgy. But I am really curious. I don't know, Drew, if it actually is going to look like the concept art. Because the first time I ever saw that concept art, I was like, there's no way they're going to do those mountains. I hope they do. But the first time I saw it, I was just like, I don't know about that. But I think it has a lot of potential, undoubtedly.
Yeah, no, I think you said it best, that there is a lot of potential for this land. And I feel like you kind of said it best, right? Like, how do you make something that really has this edge to it, Chris? And also what you said, Jared, about something that needs to be this quality, like this move the needle forward, something big and jaw-dropping. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but, like, am I crazy to say that I'm optimistic that they're actually going to deliver with this project? Like, I just feel that, yes, there's been many misses over the last few years. There's even recent things that I don't like the updated storyline of Big Thunder Mountain or Soaring Across America. I've been pretty transparent that I don't like those things, even recent things. But I do feel that with two parks people very high up in the company, from Josh being the CEO, making his way up throughout the parks, to Bruce Vaughn coming back and his entire career being on the parks, that there's just a ton of potential to really get this right and throw billions of dollars at it and just hit a home run and just change the narrative. And yeah, it's opening, like, what, 2029 at the earliest, probably. So Tropical Americas is, like, our first big thing, though I think that land's going to shock people with how good it's going to be. So yes, this is more out down the road a little bit, but I just hope that at D23 they really lean into the specifics to not only put those rumors to rest officially and get the actual plans out there, but also saying these are the real plans. This stuff is big. Like, we are going all out, major vision. We're going to execute on this. This isn't going to be a Galaxy's Edge miss where we promise and underdeliver. We're going to promise, we're going to overdeliver and do things right and get this right. That's my hope. So yeah, we don't know that yet, but we'll see.
It seems to me, which, maybe this opens up for rumors and speculation and all of that. It seems to me that, like you said, the timeline of all these events, right? Villains Land, very immature, versus, like, Cars Land, for example, very mature. And we know that that's probably going to come first in the line of things that we're actually going to get from this area and maybe from Walt Disney World itself. So I think with that, with the development still taking place maybe with Villains Land, perhaps that, opened the door to rumors and all of that, saying, like, hey, this is changing, this is changing, this is changing. Once these things become a little bit more concrete and revealed to us, I think a lot of that rumor and speculation goes away. So I do agree with you. I do hope that they bring out at least something. They don't have to reveal everything off the bat. But I think just to concrete and say, okay, hey, look, listen, this is the intended audience for this, I think would go a long way to, where we might go here. Because when we heard family, it was a little bit like, oh, I don't know. We've been waiting so long for this, and to hear from like Drew Taylor that this is going into a more Isla Burke direction, I think was a little bit disappointing to fans who have been waiting so long for this. So I do hope they at least set the tone and maybe place things on the table to remove that doubt. Again, they don't have to reveal all, but just enough to say, hey, this is really what we're doing.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. This is that's Josh's first D23 CEO. Like, how are you going to make a big wave to not only show your biggest fans that you're serious about what you've greenlit 2 years ago at that point, but for the shareholders to be confident in what the fans are reacting to? Well, yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to reveal every single detail about both e-ticket rides, but if they revealed at least one of the e-tickets, or like you said, Vash, the overall tonality of this land and the direction they're going into, to just say, yeah, this isn't a family-friendly, Ursula spinner by any means. Some of this stuff,
right? Maybe like a ride system or something. Maybe like a ride vehicle that could be like, okay, hey, we know this is going to be kind of like this, and it's going to have a high requirement and all that.
Absolutely. And real quick, I don't want to forget the stock, and then I don't want to cut you off, but I also think that this is a really good opportunity to just kind of also show how far along they are with this land, because yes, like you said, we know a lot about Tropical Americas and Cars, but part of me is hoping the reason why they have not said a lot about Villains Land is because they want to get it right before talking about it, rather than like a Galaxy's Edge where so much was promised about this interactivity and the full like service table restaurant, and all that stuff got budget cut. Where in this case, if they can actually get that budget and all these final plans locked, which I know for a fact the plans are locked. Again, I don't know what those are, and we'll find out soon, hopefully. But if they say, well, hey, the reason we haven't talked about this, and pretty much, I don't count Destination D23, as cool as the concerted architecture sounds, we didn't really learn anything about that land whatsoever, So this will be the first time in 2 full years that we're getting actual big updates, hopefully. This is the time to really pull back the curtain and say, well, yes, we understand we haven't talked about this, but the reason we didn't want to talk about this is because we want to set a realistic expectation of what you're actually going to walk into a Magic Kingdom in a few years. If they can fully deliver on that, I think they can, and I think that this land has a lot of potential. Like you guys said.
I agree. I want to ask you fellas what you guys think about this, because Vash, your B-roll has some B-roll of the villains walking down, I think, Main Street at Magic Kingdom, right? Now this land, at least from the artwork, right? And I know I try not to get mentally married to artwork, but I'm assuming that the land will have the same energy and vibe as the artwork. Maybe not, physically exact, but the same kind of energy, right? With that energy, like I personally kind of feel like having like the big rubber head characters walking around doesn't really fit that land. Do you think we're going to see more face characters in this land to kind of make it a little bit more grounded than having like a big like rubber head big bad wolf and stuff like that, and like
Jafar walking around?
What do you guys think? I'm kind of curious, because I mean, I feel like you kind of have to reimagine these walk around characters a little bit, no?
That's interesting, because that's a pretty decent point. I mean, it would, like, if you think about Jafar, I'm trying to think of the ones you see at like the Halloween party, like Jafar and some of these other ones. Like, it would seem, if you have this kind of ominous vibe to land, to have really cartoony characters walking around. And that is one thing I will say that I'm really encouraged by, is with the like Disney Animation Studios thing at Hollywood Studios, with the walk around characters and stuff. Like, that was really cool to see. Like, when we went back there, that thing was packed, like absolutely swarmed with people, like even just laying around, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I like that aspect. So if they can figure out a good balance there, because that's typically a Disneyland thing of having more roaming characters. I like that if they're able to pull it off. But I kind of agree, like even here, like if you're gonna have a big bad wolf, it's like it's gonna have to be more realistic, maybe. I don't know. That is an interesting point, though. I don't know what I would assume maybe they would, but I don't know.
Yeah, that could. Go ahead. You're good.
No. I was just gonna say the animation courtyard kind of showed how that interaction could possibly work. To do it the villain style would be very, very interesting, and you could have carved out spaces specifically to set up meeting some of the most prominent characters. That could be very, very interesting too. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, and I also think that this land has a very, like, I keep coming back to the word potential, but like with how much they've been pushing this robotic character pipeline and how successful Olaf has been over in Paris, like how could you maybe use that technology to bring a character to life? Maybe not just an animatronic in a ride, but maybe you see a big character like Jafar out in the land through a blend of a performer and this technology coming together in a new way. And again, like if you think to how much this technology has developed just since 2021, if this land isn't opening for over 3 years, that's going to be far, far, far more along than we even have right now with Olaf. So yeah, it's fun to think about, but they've really got to kind of nail this reveal at D23 because there's been the initial anticipation and then the rumors kind of killing some of that anticipation. So how do you get people excited again about spending billions of dollars on a replacement of a beloved area? That's a big task that I'm glad I don't have to think about.
And a couple of things too with this is like the rumor mill lately has been kind of out of control with a lot of different projects. And it hasn't worked in the favor of these projects, right? Like I feel like it's kind of killing the energy a little bit. So I that's why one of the big things I'm looking forward to with D23 is just kind of getting some confirmations out there. So a lot of these, like this rumor mill stuff that's not even accurate can kind of like just go away a little bit, because I feel like, yeah, I agree with you, Drew. Like, I mean, like that, you know, like the rumors about this land and what was supposedly going in here, it puts a damper on things, right? So when we can get in there at D23, we can get some confirmations. You know, I think they're going to give us at least some stuff with this. I think it's going to be a real positive. So another thing I do want to bring up too, I hope Disney is taking some of what they learned with Oogie Boogie Bash, like with the Villain's Grove. Like Villain's Grove is a masterpiece. That thing is so dope. Like you walk through and there's all this projection mapping and the shadow work and all that. I mean, this land could be so cool at night with like, can you imagine on that big rock work? You could have like the hyena shadows and everything, just as just like random kinetic energy to go along with the vibe would be chef kiss, right?
My camera loves to go. We're talking about villains, I guess. My camera loves to do this thing where it just goes purple out of nowhere. So I'll be right back.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine. No, OG is exactly right. If anybody's ever seen Villains Land, which is why I included it in this role right here. Sorry for the shaky cam. This was at a point where I wasn't as matured for recording this stuff that I am now, but. It's really interesting. It creates a vibe, an atmosphere, right? And like OG just mentioned, you could augment spaces. You can add to spaces that already are pre-existing, especially when the light falls right there. You can do some really, really cool stuff that I really do hope that they approach. But Drew's right. I mean, the emphasis on technology that we're seeing from Disney is really profound. Now, I think a little bit of that is the Bruce Vaughn influence right there. He loves tech. He loves, having Imagineering almost be like an R&D for the entire company, which is really, really interesting. Tech might be, let's not sleep on that. That's probably going to be a point of emphasis for this land.
So what you're saying is we're going to see Tesla bots walking around the park as characters. I'm preparing for that future that I think may come sooner than they think. If you're walking around like, oh, that's a character, like that's a robot, and you never know. If the eyes glow red, it's you run. You got to handle that stuff. But I agree with Drew about. I felt that they were going to have to anyways, but especially after that rap article and as much press as that got and people talking about it, they're going to need to have to come to D23 and kind of lay out what is actually going on here. But I'm actually not against, like, if they are kind of laying lower, and we've talked about this a ton, I wonder what they do at D23s going forward if they have a different approach with them, with Bruce Vaughn and Josh Damar now of, like, not revealing as much. Like, I think it would if D23 turns into more updates about things that have been previously announced, and that I think would actually build a little bit more anticipation than, you have all these, like again, 2 years ago, you have all these plans revealed, and then it's sort of just like things are just kind of hanging out there in the meantime. And I think it could, I want to say, behoove to go that route of kind of being a little bit more, not revealing as much at D23s, but I know we've talked about that before, though.
Well, and we just saw. Oh, gee, I mean, Drew, maybe you can speak on this too. The Lion King ride just got revealed in a big way. At least a little bit via some Disney Parks video and so forth. Drew, I think you've shared a couple of those pieces on your X account. Which, by the way, if you're not following Drew Disney on X, what are you doing? Like, come on.
I try.
Yeah, right. And people were looking at that, and I included, and I'm going, this doesn't make me look as impressive as what I had in my mind. And that's the kind of the danger, maybe, of revealing so much, is that, like Drew was mentioning, you maybe make promises that you can't necessarily deliver on in the case of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or you cut enthusiasm down considerably by giving a visualization of what you're going to get before the actual finished product is actually out there. I think Universal's been really clever on this part, not revealing too much. Obviously, they reveal a little bit for Epic Universe. Mainly, we don't really see these things finished until the final product. That kind of shift when it comes to advanced word of mouth or advanced advertising and marketing, I think would really help them here.
It's tough. Disney's in a bind because of D23, because they're like Universal doesn't have that event to where they're obligated to make these big announcements and show all this stuff. Disney's kind of painted into a corner because every 2 years they got to deliver on that D23. Go ahead, Drew. Sorry, brother.
No, you're good. I love listening to you guys too, so don't feel like you're cutting me off by means. Yeah, no, Vash, I fully agree with you about the Lion King thing, though. The only thing about the Lion King that I'm not necessarily freaking out about it yet is that's just a little baby model. So I'm thinking that because it's not if you look at there's two models that they have of the actual Lion King mountain, the smaller version one and then the actual one that they're literally carving and scanning for the final product. And even the bigger final scan looks more detailed than the little one. So I'm hoping because these are such little baby characters that's not showing the actual final detail, though. I do agree that if they cut that scene back from the log with the actual, the little worm that Simone's holding and the actual flowers and stuff, if they cut that back to just a flat log, then that's inexcusable. That's a horrible budget cut. Though I'm not going to judge it yet just because I'm hoping it's a baby model and maybe they're not going to go as detailed. They're just trying to get a visual of the depth of the scene itself rather than every single little thing. So it's a good point. And I think the thing that kind of got my attention the most with that is that it's crazy how one little screenshot from a video can make that big of a wave in our little news circle, right? I don't think Disney was expecting that one screenshot of that model to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people. But I saw it, I'm like, I'm going to post this, and it did. So, yeah, it's I don't know, but that's what we do at the end of the day, right? Is analyze everything that we see. So I'm sure they've got to expect part of it by now. But I don't know exactly what you guys were. Yeah, seriously, I don't know what you guys necessarily said when I was off for a few minutes because my villains the villains attacked my camera on my computer.
They got you.
But no, I do agree with you about the Lion King, and I just hope that that's not the final vision. I just hope it's more of a visual.
What would be really cool if with villains, I just speculate just a little bit. I like this technology angle for that Drew has brought up here. Obviously Bruce Vaughn having a lot to do with that, as I told everybody before when you were gone, Drew. But it's interesting. You could have hey, we couldn't have walk around roaming characters in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but can we do some walk around characters here? Maybe Maleficent's minions, if we can work that out before this land opens. Again, it's 3 years away, and we've seen some really impactful technological upgrades even with these first roaming characters like the little droids and so forth, like the little BDX droids. It'd be really, really cool to see maybe some of those concepts fleshed out that they couldn't do with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or they couldn't do with some of these previous incarnations of these very immersive lands they can do here.
Well, I would point to the toothless meet and greet at Epic and kind of that's the future meet and greets. You're gonna see this merge between, because that thing can run all day long as that thing's going, and it's a great meet and greet. They take their time with all the kids and everything. So I definitely think now that's a curious thing about, because we had mentioned as well when you were gone, Drew, about Bruce Vaughn's into the technology side, so he's bringing a different aspect into this. My theory is maybe you have Tesla bots walking around. We'll see, but but and I think that this might be a good question. I know there's we'll parlay this, maybe talking about more Imagineering, but I think there's Disney's an interesting spot, and I'm wondering, with Josh D'Amaro now in charge, have you seen, if you haven't, but do you think there's a different mindset or approach to things since Bruce Vaughn's taken over, since tomorrow's taken over? Like, has there been a shift at all, or has this kind of been something that's happening maybe longer than Bruce Vaughn or Josh Tomorrow's been around?
I think this is all happening because of Bruce Vaughn, personally. I think that there's been the main thing that I give credit to Josh for doing is actually reaching out to Bruce Vaughn. Like, I don't think many people know the story about that Josh just reached out to Bruce. Bruce thought he just wanted to catch up and have lunch because that was kind of following that Blue Sky session in 2022. And he's probably just thinking like, oh, Josh wants to talk to me about this Blue Sky stuff and get some advice. Bruce did not think that Josh was asking him to come back to lead Imagineering. So he was caught off guard by it, but he said yes, which I think is fantastic. Yeah, so the main point that I want to make is that the main thing is that we are finally seeing Imagineers who live in Florida and work in Florida design things for Florida, not Imagineers who live in California design things for Walt Disney World.
You mean like Epcot with no shade and that little concert?
Correct. Toys.
That blew my mind the first time I saw it. Like our kids were there, they had the dancing stuff, and I was like, "This is miserable." Like there's just no shade on this.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I dislike how Epcot turned out so much that I really don't go to Epcot that much. Like, I don't want to step foot in Epcot. It has no energy. It has no atmosphere. I don't want to go there. So I'll leave it at that. But to answer your question, the main thing that Bruce Vaughn has kind of done is really give Florida our dedicated workforce of Imagineers and also streamline how these Imagineers are working to get things done more efficiently and quicker. So, like, for example, I don't know all the specifics, but like maybe before it took a long time to get something done or approved because it had to go through so many people, whereas now it's more of just like, hey, you guys are headed in the right direction. I trust you. Just go for it and get this done and deliver it to the guest as quickly as possible. So not only do we have more Imagineers out right now working on all these things, from the reinvestment in the classics to the expansions at the 3 parks, but also how they're actually working on each project to not only get them done quicker, but just better overall. And really, I think that's why we're seeing more positive overall. Now, yes, there are those misses here and there, like the things that I don't like and the things that people don't like Zootopia and all that stuff. But I think overall, the majority have been well received, and I think that's a good trajectory for what's to come.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think since Bruce Vaughn came in, there's been a lot of positive, like you were saying, Drew, like everything isn't going to be a home run, right? We're going to have hits, we're going to have misses. But I think the overall trajectory of where Imagineering was and where it's headed is way better under Bruce Vaughn.
Yeah,
you know, it's been great. I want to ask you guys what you guys think. Speaking of Imagineers, we have a new Cars Land coming, Piston Peak, right, to Magic Kingdom, and we have an Indiana Jones coming to Animal Kingdom. So for the original Cars Land, we had John Lasseter, and Vash, you and I talked about this on the phone the other night, but I want to pose it to everybody. When we had Cars Land, we had John Lasseter, who was very much involved with that project, regardless of his personal stuff. I mean, he creatively really loved that franchise. He was part of that. And then with Indiana Jones, we had Tony Baxter. That was like his baby, right? And even with, like, honestly, even with Pandora, like the West Coast Pandora. Yeah, I mean, Joe Rohde is like a consultant, but he's not as hands-on probably as he was like when he built the Pandora like a decade ago. Are you guys worried about that at all? Like, you feel like having these like kind of like these visionaries that kind of spearheaded these projects, like the first iterations, not kind of being around like as they were before? Is that a concern, or do you feel like the new team can kind of step up and kind of get it done?
Well, I don't. I have thoughts here, so. I will say I think that if people actually heard what I say, they'd far more understand how I think rather than thinking about how I think, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of people out there who have notions in their head about who I am. I don't think they actually know who I am by any means. That's why I like doing these conversations. But yes, I fully understand the skepticism for what's coming. Like, if someone said to me in person, you know, I used to love what Disney did after Epcot and some of these outcomes. Like, I am not excited for what's to come. I would say, okay, I hear you. Now, just let's circle back on this in a few years, right? That's what I would say to them. I'm not going to discredit their thoughts by any means. Though, I'll play a little bit of the opposite side here, that I actually think it's awesome. We're seeing some new Imagineers who have been around for decades that just didn't get the spotlight because of people like Joe Rohde or Kevin Rafferty, who, yes, I love those people. Like, Kevin Rafferty is my all-time favorite Imagineer. obviously Joe Rohde is a beloved Disney legend, right? They had incredible contributions to the parks. But now I'm looking at someone like Joan Hartwig, who has been at Imagineering for over 30 years, and she finally has a chance to lead a project with Tropical Americas. No one knew who Joan Hartwig was, and people still don't know who Joan Hartwig is to this day, but she's been on Animal Kingdom since before it opened. She's worked on a ton of incredible projects, even was working alongside Joe very closely on Pandora. So she never has gotten credit for what she's done, but now she's fully leading the Tropical Americas team with what she learned from Joe and working on this park for decades, and is now leading this project. So I'm hoping we'll get to learn more about her and kind of who she is as a person, how she's approaching this project. We don't know specifically, like, besides someone like Caroline May on villains, we don't know exactly. Actually, no, I'm trying to think about if this was revealed. Give me one sec, I'm thinking. There's been so many videos that Disney is... I could be wrong, but I think in one of the videos that they shared for Piston Peak when they were actually like doing that test vehicle thing where they were up in the desert, that Jason Grant was in one of those videos. And Jason Grant, again, he's not a super well-known Disney creative, but he's been with the company a really long time, and he's very, very smart. He knows what he's doing. So, like, you don't see people talking about Disney Imagineer Jason Grant or Disney Imagineer Joan Hartwig, but they're just as important to what's been happening over the last few decades. Now they're just much more on the front lines of building these projects. So I think it's awesome, personally. Like, I don't have a problem with seeing new people lead things because it's a big difference in what we've had, but I think going in a different direction with their expertise and knowledge isn't a bad thing. Now, yeah, only time will tell. Like, these things are far from opening, and again, they have to deliver. They have to execute. They can't talk. They have to actually put the money in these final projects where their mouth is. There's no more messing around. You have to deliver. But I'm feeling much more optimistic and not like, oh, this is going to suck. Yeah, there's been misses. There's things that I don't like, but just thinking about everything being more streamlined and being more efficient, and knowing that these people have still been there for decades, even if people don't know who they are. Yeah, I'm excited personally.
Well, and here's the other thing too, that a lot of fans have to, and I want to say big shout out to Kiki and Luca. Thanks for coming on, Drew. Awesome. We love Kiki and Luca, and we love Drew. So yeah.
By the way, we did have a 5 from Remy. She said, "Whoa, what? You got a celebrity here?"
No.
Remy
No.
D. But one thing I think
I'm not a celebrity. I'm literally just a guy who loves Disney. Please,
like, it could be worse. They could call you an influencer. That would be the worst.
Oh no! Oh, I would leave. I would leave right now.
I know, right?
The word that there's no word that pisses me off more than influencer. Like,
dude, same. I would fight somebody over these words. I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah, like, if your intention on social media is to influence people, it just gives me the ick. It makes my entire body feel gross. I hate it. So I don't know. I love the parks. I grew up with the parks. I love talking about them. That's why I do what I do. It's just, I enjoy it. Like, it's that simple. Sure, not everyone's gonna like me or what I do, but I don't care at this point. I just do what I like.
and that's the right mindset to have. You know what I'm saying? You put yourself out there. You're just being true to yourself, and people will love you, and some people won't like you, and that's okay. You know. Yep. At the end of the day, you know. But in terms of Imagineers, I think that one thing that a lot of fans seem to forget, because a lot of fans are really impressed, usually, right, with the international projects. We see a lot of, wow, they're doing a lot of great stuff over in Tokyo and things like that. But we have to remember the stuff in Tokyo, like the New Space Mountain and Fancy Springs and Zootopia in Shanghai, that was created by Imagineers in Glendale.
Yeah.
Like, they have the chops. Like, maybe there's issues with like budgetary stuff, and I don't know the inner workings or whatever, but with the US parks, but clearly they have the creativity, because we were seeing that creativity on full display overseas, you know?
Yep.
So
this is why I'm a big fan. I love competition, and I always bring things back to a sports background because that's what I know.
True.
But like, with Universal doing what they're doing, and you even said it, Drew, it's like they have to deliver on this stuff. And I think that's a question, like, do they recognize where they're at? And I think with this competition, it is one of those times where it's like, you got to hit this stuff out of the park. Especially if you're taking out the Rivers of America, you're taking out Muppets, like these things have to deliver that are replacing them. And when you look at Imagineering, we've talked before about Lake Nona was a disaster. A lot of Imagineers left, and I always look at it as like a sports team, and it's like, what do you have on the minors? What do you have on the bench? And some of that's unknown, but I think if you're looking at a rebuilding team, which maybe that's what Imagineering is, you know, getting some win, and maybe these, you know, these quick turnarounds like the studio lot in Hollywood Studios, the Muppet redo, some of these are, and I talked about yesterday with Tomorrowland, singles and doubles. If you can hit singles and doubles, you're gonna have a good team. Like not everything's a grand slam, not everything's a home run, but if you're able to execute on these smaller projects, maybe that gives them more confidence to be able to deliver on these big ones. Because even if these smaller ones hit off really well, if the big ones don't deliver, there's still going to be a lot of criticism about that. And I think that's where people stand. And I agree with you. It's like you look at Epcot and you're like, what is that? Like when you saw the concept art and some of these things. But and I've heard you talk about it as well. Like this may be a different Imagineering now than it was then due to budgetary and leadership and things like that. So I think I'm the same way. It's like I hope these things are really good. I love what Universal's doing, and I've even said, even if you're not a Universal person, you should be thankful for Universal, because I don't think anything's being built right now if it wasn't for Epic and what Universal's doing. So I think competition does kind of bring the best out of people, and maybe we'll see that with these upcoming projects.
But isn't it amazing too how like Walt Disney, this man born in 1901, like has influenced not just this massive company, called Disney, but even Universal. And how it's, I mean, and how it's how he has influenced even Universal and these other companies, because Universal has taken a big play out of Disney's playbook with how they how they build these attractions and the overall kind of mindset when telling these stories. I think it's incredible, like the influence this guy has had from 1901. I mean, it's been how long? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this guy, it's crazy. Yeah. He died in 1966, and we're still feeling the impact. So,
what I find was really quite fascinating is that one influences the other, then influences the other. To go off of OG's point here, it's like, okay, well, Universal Creative obviously inspired by what Imagineering was actually doing, and then over the course of time, Universal Creative, steps up its game and so forth, and maybe absorbs some Imagineers coming off projects or coming off of the company as a whole, right? And just like Drew has pointed out so astutely, I mean, maybe Bruce Vaughn is looking at that and going, hey, they're able to maybe make this stuff a little bit more efficiently than we are. Let's go ahead and cut down these processes. Let's go ahead and take some notes from Universal and really getting these things accomplished right here in the modern era, which I think is so profoundly interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's just it just seems like it's such a major shift from what we had to, like, everything just felt so corporate and non-Disney under Chapek. And like the one thing I appreciated about Chapek is that he just didn't care. Like
true.
So the one clip that I always think about with Chapek, when he was at the opening of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland and he's talking to media, not Wall Street. He's like, oh yeah, we're cloning this land because then we don't have to invent new technology twice and it's more cost effective. I'm like, you don't say that to your media, Bob. But he said it. Like he was so happy to be talking about that. It's like the quiet part you don't say out loud. And then you look at someone like
for
Bruce,
not being the ally that you needed me to be.
Listen, nothing gets Bob Chapek more excited than some spreadsheets. All right, you look at some spreadsheets, he's like, oh, man, where can we cut numbers from that?
I will say though, like this is a piping hot take, but I actually think at a certain point with Disney through the pandemic, he was the CEO for a short period of time that Disney actually needed, just not like for the business side, just not for a creative leader. But now you look at someone like who is Bruce Vaughn, and he's just like so laid back. Like the dude's not a suit whatsoever. He's just Bruce. And I think that that's why these things are headed in the right direction again, is because he's just a creative who gets it. He's not like, oh, well, I'm going to pull $100 million off this project. He's like, okay, cool. Just go run with it and have fun. So yeah, I mean, again, we're only going to find, I think that we'll know if these things are going to be really good or not by 65 days from now. Like we're having this conversation just in time for what's to come. But yeah, I feel that there is more potential than ever for Piston Peak and Villains Land to deliver in such a big way that suddenly people aren't talking about the Liberty Bell or Tom Sawyer Island anymore. That it's like these things are so shockingly good that we're like, oh, this isn't at Tokyo Disneyland. This is in the middle of Magic Kingdom. That's where I think we could be heading with these things. I think the only project, real quick, right now that they've announced that I have no excitement for is Pandora at California Adventure. That project, to me, I just don't care about it. It's like, I love the movies, but I don't need to see another Pandora Land. I'd much rather see something. I mean, I know it's original. Like, we haven't seen that version of Pandora. And it's like, sure, they could prove me wrong even there. But I think at least for Walt Disney World's portfolio, between, like you said, about the singles and the doubles, Disney actually said that at our thing we went to recently at our little media event. They're like, we're not just viewing the expansions anymore about the big things, but also the reinvestments that if you have multiple of these, they add up and they make a big impact. So I think all this coming together, we're going in the right direction. But again, I know Piston Peak is still a dirt pit. Villains Land is still a dirt pit. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. I like to be optimistic. If anyone knows me, I'm very much an optimist. I have no problem with acknowledging that.
There are
Never
things to be
black pill. I
optimistic
always tell people that all the time.
There are things to be optimistic about. Like Drew said, this very executive focused Imagineering has gone by the wayside a tad with Bruce Vaughan, right? Who is kind of a creative at heart. And so to have your Imagineering team led by somebody who is more creative and less than of an executive, that's going to obviously result in a little bit maybe different of a workflow, what gets approved and so forth. So that is very encouraging. Too, I'm glad you brought up Time Stories Island and Liberty Bell, because people, they're going to be bringing that up until the point that Cars Land and Villains Land open. There's no question about that. But what I hope doesn't happen, and I think we all hope doesn't happen, is
my phone wallpaper. My phone wallpapers for the last 2 years. It's been the Liberty Bell. So I love Liberty Bell. Yeah.
I love it too. I love it as America, and I was so like, whoa, you're getting rid of this. Okay. The hope, though, and I think Tony Baxter said this back in the day, it's like, look, if you replace anything, you got to just make sure that thing is better than the previous thing, right? Because people to this day, not everybody, I was just gonna mention it, people still bring up Splash Mountain, right? So it's kind of like, this is why I think we're all kind of in agreement saying you really got to hit a home run right here, because not only do you have enhanced competition, not only have you been talking about the $60 billion tranche of funding for so long, but we have sacrificed, maybe as fans, a lot to get to this point. And so this is why, I think there's a lot of trepidation when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of hesitation, but there is room for optimism. There's no question about that. Some of the recent projects, I think, what is it, Tom Bricker, he was like, hey, they've only had one miss. And it's like, I don't know. I guess it's all subjective. And it's just like with Villains Land, with Cars Land, it's like you got to perform, at least with those respective attractions, just because of the amount lost there. But look, if in fact they can, open these things up and they're highly successful, I mean, we have heard plans even beyond this, like maybe an adjoining hotel to Magic Kingdom. That might be very cool. We've heard, further expansion plans out from this, but you've got to get these steps out right first, or else it becomes another Star Wars Galaxy's Edge situation where it's like, oh yeah, we were going to do a third ride and we're going to do all this, and it never happened.
I guess the good thing is we don't have a Kathleen Kennedy coming in and maybe trying to change it up at the last minute. But no, I really agree. I'm actually really curious about, it was talked about how Bruce Vaughan, they're implementing more AI into Imagineering. And I'm really curious, do you know how much they're using it? Because I mean, I'm kind of like, I've gotten into AI the last little bit, like the stuff it can do today versus even like a month ago is kind of insane. But are they using AI? And I've heard him talk a little bit about, bringing in some of these older Imagineers to kind of share their knowledge and maybe create this whole like, AI knowledge base for the Imagineers. Are they leaning on that quite a bit for this at this point? Or is that just still kind of a little ways out? They're still building it. Do you know?
As far as I know, the AI isn't actually doing any of like the creative stuff. Like they're not generating AI concept art or anything for the rides. As far as I know, it's just like, again, it's a way to streamline ops to where things can get done quicker. Kind of like if they were able to pull up files. I think they talked about this publicly in one article. It's like the in-house thing called Jarvis, if I'm not mistaken.
Jarvis.
Yeah, that has been publicly revealed as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
That like if an Imagineer wanted to pull something up from the archives, it's all there in seconds, rather than having to literally go through bins and drawers in the archives. It's just a way to, if you're working on a new project and you need a question about something that you did before, well, you just pull it up in Jarvis. I think that's as far as they're going as of now. I mean, I guess you could also consider like the Hattie 3D printing stuff that does use AI in a way, but there are still humans very much involved in that. But I do think that Hattie's going to be a big part of where they're headed with how far can 3D printing or this robotic stuff go to maybe do something that they've never been able to do before and just add more to these lanes as this technology progresses. But yeah, I think the main thing that I've kind of picked up on with the AI is I feel like the word AI is used a little bit too loosely. Like when people hear the word AI, they think of like the generated photos and videos, whereas in this situation, AI is actually helping them be more creative and get these things done in a more efficient time frame. So I'm not against how they're using it as of now, as long as it remains a human first creative first effort. That's all I could ask for.
Yeah, there's a lot of like black and white thinking and like fandoms where it's like AI is either amazing, perfect, or we shouldn't use it at all. And like there is that gray area where it's like this is a great technology, we can utilize it for some great stuff, but we don't have to go overboard with it, you know? And so I feel like Disney's doing that. I feel like they're utilizing it where they can, but they're not going to go overboard. You know, we're still going to have real people making these attractions, you know, real Imagineers. So I think as long as they keep going down that path, and I think even Universal the other day announced they got some AI. They're utilizing AI for their experiences division, whatever, Universal Creative and stuff like that. So it seems to be the industry, you know. Go ahead.
Well, I know that Universal, because I talked to some people more at Universal than Disney about stuff. They're using AI really interestingly, and I imagine Disney is as well, where it's a little bit more on the maintenance end. So they're using AI to be able to like predict, like it learns that like, okay, this part's going to go out, or when something happens, they can run the AI to figure out where it's at instead of taking all the time it takes to go through all that stuff. So I think you're going to see AI come in on more of the things that guests don't see. Like you won't actually interface with. I think when most people think of AI, they're like, oh, I'm going to be talking to a screen in a theme park. Yeah, and it could happen in the future, but it's much more about these operations and streamlining them. So I agree. I think like AI is kind of crazy. I was telling you guys the other day, I literally built an app to help me track my workouts, and it took like 20 minutes, and it would have cost me $20,000 like 10 years ago to build it. And I was like, this is nuts. Like if you're able to like, and you can just, it's kind of up to the user on how they use it, but you can still have human creativity involved with it, just depending on how you use the tool. Is kind of always my viewpoint on it.
Go ahead, Drew.
All right, I found the official description of Jarvis, so I know I can talk about this. It says they've built Jarvis, which is trained on Imagineering research. So this AI is trained on what has been already built and exists by people, learnings, documentation, and collective knowledge within the segment, which will enable us to bring experiences to life faster than ever before. That's what Disney says. So yeah, I am all for that use of AI personally. But again, people are like, oh, the word AI, and I'm like, well, that's not generating anything. It's literally allowing them to be more effective. That's what we've been asking for. So I'm not against that at all.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Vash.
Well, I've speculated a little bit on, you know, when you have so many legends leave it all at one time, which we had a lot. People leave it all at once. You worry about institutional memory. You worry about passing down things and experiences that, you know, they were able to gather through their, you know, years at Imagineering and all of these projects and so forth. And so the integration of this Jarvis right here to go through Imagineering's previous work and really recall those things and really almost have a passing down through the work of these Imagineers, not from them specifically. This kind of knowledge right here, I think, is a really interesting approach. And I think it could very much help in doing all of that. Also, too, the carving, like you brought up there, Drew, with you know, the assistance of AI in order to facilitate those things. That's really interesting too, because look, I mean, you could. They just had like a marble statue of, I believe, Grumpy at one of the golf kind of things there. You know, that statue doesn't exist without that. Yep. And so it's kind of like
crazy that
right?
They can do what it's doing.
So can you imagine now what a project looks like with some of these tools in facilitation, in bringing down budgets, in, you know, managing the scope and so forth of some of these projects? That's going to be really, really interesting to see. And I will say, you know, when it comes to generative AI or whatever forms of AI, there are some, maybe in the East, right, who don't have any reservations about using AI whatsoever. Right, that's a little bit more of a Western thing, which is very, very interesting. So I think our perceptions of AI and how it's actually perceived in the marketplace and through media and so forth, that might be changing as well. Do you want to necessarily be behind that or ahead of that? It's an interesting question.
Well, and Disney's been really like criticized for their budgets in their films big time, and even Imagineering is like known for like their bloat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
right.
Historically. So if they can do stuff that keeps that creative process intact, but eliminates a lot of that, you know, bloated budgetary stuff, I mean, I'm all for it. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, that was kind of the same point I was gonna make. Is I think the AI stuff, a lot of it, like more of the people have their reservations about art. Though I do think it's kind of the internet. As time goes along, I think that will ease. Like people will accept it more on some level. But I think the real usage of AI from, you could say, from theme parks and business standpoint, and even movies, is going to be bringing down budgets, because it's going to make things more efficient and be able to get it done quicker. And so I think that is going to end up being a thing. Even talking about like scheduling labor. I mean, the biggest cost that Disney and Universal have is labor,
which is what Disney talked about when it came to AI usage internally a few years ago. They said scheduling, ordering, that kind of thing. Sorry, Jared, it just reminded me.
No, you're completely right. And I think those are the things you like, and you won't see it necessarily, but those are the impacts I think of AI before. And eventually, I mean, yeah, sure, we may get to a point where, actually we probably will get to a point where there's walking around robots in theme parks and things like that. But you're going to see it pop up in different ways. And I think that if it's a tool that can help you be more efficient and actually can help you be more creative, because I can actually attest to that. Like there's times when, you know, you're trying to think of stuff and you can kind of bounce ideas off it and you're like, oh, there you go. And like, that's not going to be able to replicate human beings creating nothing out, you know, something out of nothing. Like humans are able to do that. AI cannot do that. It just regurgitates and it does learning things, but it can be useful. And I think Disney will get the most flack for it because of their history and all that stuff. But I mean, Universal, they're using it. They went way out of their way in their patent. They've got this patent out there for like guest behavior to call it machine learning. Although if you really read through that whole thing, it is essentially AI. But I think a lot of these are going to try and use verbiage that isn't saying AI necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting. I mean, when you get in the AI world, like talking about 3D printing stuff, I love it. I love tech, and I think that whole stuff is like really interesting. What it could be done with, what you could do with it in the hands of very creative people. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about the AI stuff, I guess connecting it to what Vash said about that Grumpy statue, is that not only does it not exist without that machine and Hattie and that partnership with Imagineering, but also that it's more environmentally friendly by just going directly to the actual marble and not any of this plastic stuff. It's literally just carving it directly, sanding it.
That's a good point.
Done. So I think that it's not just, you know, everyone's like, oh, AI powered robot, but yes, there are still many humans involved with the actual modeling and then inputting that into the robot. Also, people are actually maintaining these robots to make sure they work and then actually finishing the figure. So I think that's actually a good balance of not only keeping things on budget, getting things done quicker. It's better for our planet, and it still has people involved. I'm not against that by any means too. I just don't like the generation stuff personally. So as long as the creative stays first, that's all I can ask for.
Yeah,
true.
I agree. All right. Drew, are you good to stick around? You need to head. I know you got to.
Yeah, no, I'm good for a little bit, man.
Okay.
I'm chilling.
Right, let's move on to get my screen here. Hold on, where am I at? There it is. Okay. Let's talk about this is kind of interesting. Well, we've talked about before about Disney pin trading, and that's a world I've learned that is it's an interesting one. I didn't realize the kind of the people that kind of go crazy with this stuff. We've seen people even accusations, I will put it out there, of people buying knockoff pins to trade with and things like that. But Disney recently made some changes because there were some people staying overnight in Disney Springs parking lot for these pin drops. Disney came out and said that you can't do that. There's no overnight queuing and some other operational improvements for what the Pin Tuesday drops. We've also we've talked about before with the Disneyland swatting incident. They may have some changes coming to live streaming. And I can tell you from my channel, what I've seen, you talk about these two topics and you will have people have opinions on it. And usually it's like, get it out of here, all that stuff. But what do you guys like with pin trading and these things? Do you think that they're really going to try and control this more? Because one of the bigger complaints is it's like you got the third-party scalpers and all this stuff coming in here. Do you think they do more on this? Do you think they have more restrictions on live streaming, or do you think this is going to be dependent upon what people do and they just react to it? I'm kind of curious what you guys think, if they're going to be more proactive about it or more reactive kind of about this whole thing.
Well, it's kind of interesting because they haven't really been too proactive with a lot of this stuff, in my opinion.
No,
it seems a lot more reactive. So if I were to bet money, probably more reactive.
Well, like if people are buying stuff, I've made this point too. If I'm selling something and people are buying it, it's like, how angry are you gonna really be unless your fans and the guests really they get really upset. And I think that's kind of where they're at. It's like they don't really care too much because stuff's selling, but they also want to try and make people happy and not feel like it's like Pokemon cards, like everything's on eBay an hour later when people really wanted it because they actually enjoy the content and the brand and things like that.
Yeah, it kind of becomes a little bit like, I don't know, when things get like really big, right? Like the pins and all that stuff, it kind of takes away from like the I don't know, like it's hard to explain. Like I don't want to say magic because that's really a cheesy word, but like I mean it's so cliche, not cheesy, but cliche with Disney, right? But it becomes like someone's like, I feel like a lot of this stuff, like the pin trading, it becomes like someone's personal business at that point, where I feel like it loses sight of like what's really important with these parks and spending time with your family and like maybe buying a cool pin for your kiddo or something like that. I just feel like it kind of gets into this weird direction of like this weird consumerism. Like this, it's not, I don't know, it sounds really funny, but like, I just feel like it just kind of gets a little bit on the ugly side, in my opinion. So,
well, I think you can see that in any fandom too. I mean, I always Pokemon, how big that's gotten. And like, I know people that are into Pokemon. They're like, you can't even get cards. Like people are just lining up days in advance to get them. But go ahead, Vash.
No, I think from Disney's perspective, I think Disney's okay with a lot of this stuff as long as it doesn't affect their business operation or their bottom line, right? And I talk about it often about like the scalpers, for example. If Disney wanted to really shut down scalpers once and for all, they could. But I think they like it a little bit until it starts to really become a deficit for the guest experience. And I think in this case, right, when it like disrupted ops where you have people sleeping in the parking garage itself, or you have these backups that we've seen on pin days or pin Tuesdays or whatever for Magic Kingdom in the morning. It's kind of like, okay, this is maybe getting a little bit out of hand for Disneyland, right? You have these pin traders, which hey, look, nothing against pin traders. I just want to make very clear, but you have some bad apples, and some people would maybe take over benches, they would take over tables, and they would, they bring their wares there and sprawl it all out. And it's kind of like, wow, okay, this is becoming a little bit unmanageable. Let's go ahead and manage it further. And I think this is Disney kind of saying, look, listen, we gotta rein this in just a tad, because I mean, pins have been a extremely lucrative business for them. In fact, they produce so many pins, they've actually lost count of how many pins they've produced, which kind of tells you just how wild they went. Every single division, every single part of the Disney company actually getting involved right here. George Kalogridis, you just created a monster. But it's really interesting to see how this has developed. But that's the thing. If it becomes kind of out of hand, now we have to rein it in. This is one of those times where it's like, okay, we're going to manage this a little bit.
Yeah, I think you said it best, Vash. Like if it's disrupting the ops, or I would go one step further and say if it disrupts like the general family visiting the parks, where if they're just walking through World Celebration and there's hundreds of people over there, it's like it's probably not great to have that there. Right. But yeah, like I've never gone into the pin trading by any means, so I pretty much stay out of all the Pin Tuesday stuff. It's not my cup of tea by any means, and I don't like live streaming at the parks personally, just because like the way I think about it is if I'm walking around the park and filming children's faces like nonstop over and over and over, it's not my cup of tea personally. Like even when I was just in Animation Courtyard, trying to film all these characters, I was over there for hours just to try to get clips without any kids in them and just the characters and myself and talking to them. So that's how I at least feel about it. But it's obviously none of my business to tell people how to live their lives, or because I know people don't like what I do, so I'm not going to tell people what not to like themselves. So if people like pins, and do what you want to do, but it's not my cup of tea personally.
If it's not disturbing anybody else, and if it's within park rules, hey, no problem, no issues. But when you bring in like the suitcases of pins, and when you're taking over tables, and when you're taking over dining spaces, i.e. trash cans, it's just all this other stuff where it's like, come on, guys. Like this is a little bit much right here. And so every once in a while, Disney, whether it's live stream or anything else, they sometimes have to say, okay, now we have to print policies. Now we have to, put out certain materials and so forth, just to have everybody know this is how this is all going to run here. Because at the end of the day, it is Disney property, right? You are a guest. And so when I think about the live streaming thing and the swatting incident, right, the Oblivion incident, which Jared OG, we covered actually that live stream quite extensively right there. Yes. I look at that and I just go, okay, you can't have another, incident like that take place. So what does that involve on the back end? I'm not quite sure. Obviously we've heard rumblings that there might be some, restrictions maybe coming, or maybe some rules, regulations coming, but they can't have another incident like that again. And like you said, when families start complaining, or if families see something that, maybe this is not so great, that's when Disney steps in.
Yeah, and people assume that like they're like, well, they can't police the live streaming, because what is Disney going to do? They're going to go around the park telling people not to use their phone. And it's like, no, if Disney really wants to clamp down on these live streamers, all they have to do is just go on YouTube, and you can surgically point out who's who and where they're at, and when they're live streaming and all that stuff, and they can do it that way. Like Disney's not going to go in the park and like boots on the ground, like try to find someone live streaming. They're going to go on the social media platforms and they're going to do it that way. Now, do I think they're going to do that? No. But I think after that Oblivion swatting incident, I do think some changes are going to come. They're not going to outright ban it, just like the pin stuff, but I think they will probably put some sort of limitations on the live streaming, because there are a lot of great live streamers doing a lot of great stuff, and they respect the people around them. But then there are also, like you were saying, Vash, some bad apples who don't do that. So Disney's going to have to address some of those bad apples, because it also affects the operations. It also affects the guest experience,
And Jared, to your, like, I'll go ahead and hand to you, but I mean, Oblivion, like iShow Speed, some of these huge personalities coming in there. Like that's where you get a lot of chaos and disruption. And I've covered it several times on the various channels that I've been a part of before. Go ahead, please.
No, I mean, you're completely right. I think Disney has a pattern. When something gets a big enough issue, that's when they, kind of try and nip it in the bud. And like we were at Epcot on Friday, and like outside of Creations, it was like a swap meet. It was just like all these people had their pins. I was like, what is going on? And like I realized there was all these pin traders. I was kind of surprised at the time that Disney they were taking up probably 4 or 5 tables and benches in a very busy area of the park. And I was kind of surprised that they let them do it. But I think like if you're Disney, it's a good problem to have people that are so into something you have, but at the same time, it can become an actual problem. Like Drew was saying, if it impacts families' vacations, and that's the part where you do have to do something about it. And I don't have a problem. Like, I know some people really hate third-party sellers. I'm not like, listen, make your money. If there's a market for it, whatever. But when it becomes too heavy on that, like there's a balance to it. And I think sometimes if you get somebody making a little money on it, then other people want to make money on it. And then all of a sudden you got everybody, like if everybody going for these pin drops is like 80% third-party sellers, that's a problem. You don't want that market necessarily. So I don't really know how they would address that. In terms of like, they're not going to go to eBay and start policing shops and things like that. And like you were saying, I agree with Rogue Attraction. I was going to say that one thing they could do about live streams, they could copy strike channels, because they have music playing in their park. So there are things they could do if they decide to go that route. But yeah, it's interesting because I don't know what under Iger, I don't think they much seem to care. I'm wondering with DeMauro being a little closer to the parks, maybe he has a different feel for this and they decide to be a little bit more proactive on it. But I don't know if I'd say it's a problem if you're not into pin trading, but obviously like if you are, like there's a lot of complaints around it. But like I'm like Drew, my mother-in-law has a bunch of pins from the 90s that probably people would go crazy for, but I haven't bought a pin, I don't think, ever in my life. Yeah,
as long as it's not affecting anybody else, it's cool, But if it's becoming an issue where you're like cutting into the guest experience, then they got to do something about it. They have to. And that goes for live streaming too, I mean, it just does. I mean, you have to, Disney has an obligation to make sure that the people in their parks have a good experience. And if there's people that are going into these parks and treating it their small business is like the top priority. This is private property, so this is not, Disney has a right to say, hey, look, you know what, so you can't be selling stuff in here. You can't be, what I'm saying? So yeah, they're going to have, it's a balancing act for sure. The other thing too, with the live streamers, it's kind of a tough thing with that because they do promote the parks, but those people that usually live stream are also there all the time. And they're also the most critical. So from Disney's perspective, I can see Disney going, ooh, do I really want someone live streaming about how terrible the new churro is? And stuff like that. So it's a double-edged sword. There is absolutely benefits to them for having those live streamers because they do promote it and it's great. But there's also a lot of negativity, which they probably don't love either, So
well, if they get into it too much too, then they get the perception of, well, they're just shutting people down and they're being critical. And I think it's a very like tricky area to get into because like, are you going to have like favorites? And then if people want to get into it, like, I think they probably want to avoid that if I were to guess. But you also, like, if you look at the Disneyland swatting thing, obviously that was a hoax, but that was one where you're like, you're right. You can't have that happen again. That could have been way worse. And so like
you have helicopters over the park, it's
right.
It's just wild.
That impacts the guest experience, obviously, having that aspect to it. So I wouldn't want to be trying to make that decision because I think, especially with Disney, it's like any decision you make is going to get a ton of criticism. But I do feel like they make some sort of restriction on live stream, but I don't think they're going to go for an all-out ban. I think it might be something. I don't know. I mean, they could go the Universal route where it's like you can't film on rides and things, and maybe that helps alleviate because you don't see it as much at Universal, but they're not as big as Disney either, and maybe it eventually gets there. But that essentially, I would do one about Universals because you can't really film on much stuff at Universal on the rides if that has an impact on people actually willing to stream over there and things.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this is beautiful, by the way, what we're seeing here.
Yeah. The Animal Kingdom Lodge is pretty fantastic stuff, right? There's no question about that. But no, look, I mean, I do hope that live streamers and pin traders can go to the parks still and still do a little bit of their thing. But again, if these things cross the line, if these things get out of hand, if you have phones on coasters flying off, obviously there might have to be some regulations there. Now, it's interesting. I've advocated for a streaming pass, which is basically like, or a content creator pass, which is, okay, hey, look, listen, you get 365 days of access. Well, obviously, you have to have certain thresholds in order to be eligible for that pass, but you can buy into it. You're good to go. However, it's going to come with some rules and regulations that are maybe a little bit more stricter than your common guest, right? And that's how you kind of police the situation and allow for some of these things to still take place. That's what I've advocated for in the past. We'll see what route they end up going right here. Yeah, it's right. I mean, you could do a little bit of that, a little carrot and a stick kind of thing. I think there are creative ways that you can actually.
That's a rare video right there. Tiana and Lewis both working. You never see that anymore.
I know. That's why I had to include it. It's a rarity.
I've tried to ride Tiana's 3 times, and every single time it broke down, I got escorted off. So I've actually never experienced the whole ride without it. I've gotten probably like 3/4 of it throughout the time, but I've never actually done the drop since it's been Tiana's. So I haven't seen a lot of them working. But I mean, you could do that same pass thing for one of the bigger complaints of the people that go into those discount shops, and they basically are doing like live stream auctions in the stores.
Really?
I felt like, well, and those stores are very small. Like they're at the outlet stores. And my wife and I have been in there before. Luckily, we didn't have our kids with us because they would not have liked it. But like literally, you have people with carts that have just merchandise thrown onto it. They're live streaming it. Like it's kind of pandemonium. But at the same time, they're buying stuff that Disney's trying to get rid of. So it's like, how much do they care? But at the same time, if you did make them be like, okay, you have to have like a vendor pass or something to have more control over it, that I think is a reasonable thing you could do maybe with streamers and things like that as well, because I agree, you do have a little bit more responsibility there of anytime you're making money, especially like on Disney property, it's like you're always going to be at risk for them changing things and you're just going to have to adapt. And we've seen that with like those third-party sellers. They kind of had people coming in after COVID and then they were like, no more. And I feel for those people, but it's like, you build a business off of another business going on their property, you are very much subject to the whims of what they will and won't do.
100%. And Roga asked an interesting question. Would blocking a person from live streaming infringe on First Amendment rights? Okay, now I'm not like a lawyer by any means, but being like you were saying, Jared, it is private property.
Yeah.
I think they would have no legal issue saying you can't do that here. It would be like someone walking into your home trying to live stream. You have every right to say you can't do that in my home. So I don't think it would. I don't think they would get into any legal issues. I mean, they can tell you to leave if they want you to leave. It's not public property. I
bring this up all the time. This is the thing I use. Okay, you bring up the First Amendment. There's also a thing called maybe the Second, right? And that doesn't infringe on your rights at all when Disney actually has security and has restrictions when it comes to the Second, right? So that's where the closest analogy I can possibly have for that situation. It's private property.
Well, yeah, and like First Amendment stuff is the government doing it. Like private property is a different thing. So yeah, they could totally do it if they chose to do so, but it'll be interesting to see because I don't know if the pin trading will slow down anytime soon. It seems like it's only getting more popular. But I will say, with the Cool Kids Summer, so we stayed at Coronado Springs. They actually had like a little goodie bag for the kids and stuff like that, which our kids really liked. But they also had some verbiage about they had pin trading spots that were specifically for kids. And I was like, that's actually a pretty good move to like allow people like kids and families that are not into this crazy world that they may feel intimidated by it, and let kids and families kind of, actually participate in this without having to feel this pressure of like maybe someone's trying to scam you or something like that. So I did like to see that. And I think that that's the balance you probably have with like Disney adults going overboard sometimes and then trying to make room. Like you still want their money, but it's like you still have to make room for the kids and the families of letting them enjoy their trips and experiences in the parks. But
and that's the biggest concern for me too, is like just like people should be allowed to make money, and like I'm not against like the third party people making money off of Disney. That's fine. But like when you start to like cut into like the kids not being able to get those items because a pin trader picks up like so many of these and stuff, like I think that's where the issue comes in. Like these parks are at the end of the day still for the families, and I think that like if you're cutting into that experience, that's just not okay. And and Disney will adjust. They'll balance it, I'm sure. So
I think they probably will. And this is an interesting point. This is from Stu, my Rick. He says, just like a major sports league like the NFL, not allowing just anyone to create content. This from a 15-year sports radio veteran who was credentialed by the NFL. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, not everybody can just go to the Super Bowl and start interviewing people. So they definitely could go that route.
100%.
Yeah, we will see on that. All right. You guys got anything you just want to add about that before we move on?
No, I think I'm good on that.
The NFL analogy is really, really interesting because we've seen like content creators who have like the all 22, access. That's changed a little bit, in some certain NFL recordings and so forth. Like it's really interesting how content creators on YouTube, specifically in the sports arena, have had to change their style based on some issues that have come up. So could we perhaps see similar things happen with Disney, like Rogue Attraction said, music and so forth? That's really interesting. We could. It's possible. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention, by the way, and this just crossed my mind. We say it at Coronado Springs, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Disney has Mickey churro waffles that they'll do sporadically.
Really?
Those things are dangerously delicious. So I woke up because my wife went and got them while I was waking up, and I think they only have them at Coronado Springs at Spyglass Grill. Those things, oh my gosh, like we had them 2 days straight. I got 2 orders the next day. I was like, and I know they do it sometimes at Disney Cruise, but I think that may be the next big thing, because if it's any indication of what was going on at Spyglass Grill and the line there, that may be the next big thing you see as like a Disney snack, because that thing was like amazing. Like
wow,
get all the diabetes from all that.
Diabetes. Hey Jared, real quick before we move on to our next topic, Kiki and Lucas saying while we have Drew on, if we can get his thoughts on D23.
Perfect.
We're gonna put Drew on the spot here.
There you go.
Oh
Drew.
boy.
What are your thoughts on D23?
Well, my first thought is that, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself. You have to deliver with Josh and Dana leading this company for the first time, with this being their first big thing that people are going to look back at. Like, yeah, not only do they want to build their personal legacy of leading this company and people to be thrilled about what's revealed and what's announced, and not just the announcements, but like the actual experience on the show floor. People want to make memories at this expo regardless of the announcements. Like, you take away the Honda Center stuff, D23 is still a phenomenal event to go to and just have fun and see these Disney legends and people who are part of this company, the Imagineers on the show floor. All of that stuff has to deliver. So how do you balance that? That's a big thing that they have to deal with every single year, that I always think about, just how this is kind of like a nonstop operation, how it's every 2 years, but really how a year after they start planning a year in advance. So it's a big thing. And then I guess kind of, I think I mentioned this earlier. I've done 2 podcasts today, so I don't know if I've mentioned this on my last one or on this one, but how Disney has been talking a lot about reinvesting in the classics. So the one announcement that I'm hoping for, in terms of like, we don't know about it yet, at the Experiences Showcase, is that Space Mountain is going to get a new track at Magic Kingdom. That's the one thing that I want. And then I guess just the concrete details about the things that we already know about from Tropical Americas. What are the names of the rides? What are the storyline, actual specifics? You know, how many animatronics can we expect? Who's voicing Indiana Jones from over at Monstropolis? Like, I want to learn about the theater show in Harryhausen's, which Disney already teased themselves. And then maybe if we're going to actually fly outside of the factory and go into a different world on the roller coaster like they teased in the original model. And then really, how does, you know, Cars and Villains as a combo dual package really make Magic Kingdom a better theme park and move the needle forward? These are the things that I'm thinking about, from like that back and forth balance of the reinvestment to the major expansions. And I think we talked about that here already on delivering on expectations, right? These have to be actual final plans, not you know, what could be, what is happening, what is being built. So yeah, no, I'm pumped. And just the fact that, I think the main thing I'm kind of shocked by is that it's almost been 2 years since these things were announced. Yeah. And that they announced 14 new rides in one night. That is still crazy to me. I feel like that just happened. I still vividly remember it. Yet we're about to actually learn more about what's actually happening. So yeah, I guess that's a few minute rant on my thoughts, but I'm excited for it.
Well, Drew, can I ask you a quick question? A California question? No. What are your thoughts? Because Dre, we were talking about this on the phone the other night as well. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about Coco. I think Coco fits DCA perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like where they're putting it is a weird spot. Like, are you worried about like space limitations?
I'm worried about how small it is. Yeah, for sure. So the one thing about the Coco ride that's still kind of going under the radar is like how incredible the animatronics are going to be on that ride. And this has been teased by Disney themselves. I'm not leaking anything. That Josh said that these animatronics are going to have to be seen to be believed. So I think these are going to be like, I think there's 2 versions of the next gen animatronics. The first ones are the ones that they revealed officially with the Unreal Engine, Epic Games technology, with the real-time front-facing projection. They showed those in We Called Imagineering on YouTube. That's one of them. I think the other one that we don't know yet, I'm just speculating in a sense, is that Coco's animatronics with the skeletons, they might be see-through in a way, and they might figure out how to put the wiring in the actual bones of these animatronics. Because if I'm seeing a skeleton, right, it's not a full body, it's just bones. So if they can figure out a way to get these animatronics more simplified, maybe through 3D printing and these advancements, to where if you're going on that Coco ride and you're seeing this skeletal cast, they're teasing a lot of animatronics are coming to this ride. I want to be able to look through that animatronic and see a show set piece on a back wall behind them. I want that to feel like I'm actually in the world of Coco. So yeah, I'm very concerned about that plot land size, but like maybe they're going to pull something out in, you know, kind of that classic Imagineering like performance under pressure and deliver something in a big way. So I'm just pumped about the animatronics. Like I said earlier, I'm not super pumped about Pandora, but Infinity Defense, like if they tease like that King Thanos animatronic, I think that'd be a big wow moment for sure.
You know, it's interesting with the Coco thing. It's like, yeah, and we've all talked about it on multiple videos, but maybe they'll do some new technology that allows them to kind of make it seem more like a longer experience, like a more involved experience than it really actually is. We have like changing set pieces with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Maybe they'll utilize something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just perplexed by it because they're cramming it in. It's like on the sidewalk. Like they got rid of the sidewalk to build this attraction. I'm like, how are you going to fit this thing?
Yeah, Vash, correct me if you're wrong. Was it you guys who talked about the possibility of the turntable? Was that you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was you guys, but I love that thought. So all the credit to you for that one. But a turntable would be absolutely brilliant for optimization. So I hope you're right about that.
I want to go ahead and show this actually because Carowinds just recently announced they were going to do a log ride in multiple points in that new log flume that they're going to actually have. You have these turntables that better utilizes the space, and it's a pretty small space. It's about 3.5 acres right there, but they actually get about 2 minutes 31 seconds of ride time in that. You can see a little bit here. This is kind of what I was talking about. Obviously, we've seen the kind of stuff that Frozen has utilized at Epcot for a long time, even before when it was Maelstrom, right? But even going beyond that and the backwards section on all of that, if you look at this lift hill, you go up top, right? And then once you actually get to this point, then you actually turn again, and that's where you actually get the drop. So this is a way of perhaps maybe leveraging as much space as possible out of this area. It is a very interesting thing to see parks already doing this, and so maybe Disney could actually utilize that same tech here. My biggest concern, like you said, Drew, and OG we've brought up multiple times in the past, is that you look at that plot of land that this is on. This Carowinds ride sits on a plot, like I was saying, 3.5 acres, and they were only able to get 2 minutes and 30 seconds out of this thing. This is actually a smaller plot when you look at, Coco over there at DCA. Even if they were to saturate all of the available area, you're looking at, just shy of 3 acres right there. And again, even with the log flume that Carowinds is getting, they were only able to get 2 minutes and 30 seconds out of theirs. Now they could slow it down. There could be some things to really drive up that wait time, or that ride length. But dang it, man, it's like I want to see more of those audio animatronic figures, like you said. And I just feel like we could have gotten so much more had they just picked another spot. I'm hopeful. Man, it's just like this is the big hang up.
Yeah. And one of the big concerns I also have too is just you're going to have this beautiful Mexican architecture, and then you're going to have the Incredicoaster every 2 minutes, and it's like, okay, like I don't know, like it's right next to that roller coaster. Is that going to kill like the vibes a little bit with like the placemaking theme of like this Mexican village? That concerns me as well. So I don't know. I have concerns, but I'm optimistic. I mean, I do think that because Josh D'Amaro really hyped this thing up at D23 like 2 years ago. I mean, he was hyped. Drew, didn't he say it's like on par with the classics or something? Like
he said they were drawing inspiration from Pirates and Haunted Mansion. That's actually the next point I was going to make is, could they possibly have a 2-story ride? Like, I feel like the only way to solve the space issue is make it 2 stories and just stack the things on top of each other. That would be brilliant, but it's water-based. So I'm like, because like with Rise of the Resistance, that's not a problem whatsoever. It's trackless, right? But like, I don't know, like, if Disney said, "Oh yeah, this is 2 stories," I'd have no issues with it. But like, this is Coco, man. Like that movie is phenomenal. Like if you mess this up, like holy crap, yikes.
The previous incarnation of that idea, Drew, is actually Splash Mountain. Well, that's a 2-story. Now it's not necessarily a 2-story boat ride in the same sense of as Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe this is the first, right? That's a log flume, which is a little bit more approachable, but. That could be something, and that if they said, "Hey, this is going to be multi-level," now we're in. We're in like Flint. Now we can, get some ride length and everything else. So that might be really, really cool. You can see right here. Oh, that's a really small photo. I don't know why. That one came up. Weird.
I know, like that's my thing. Is like, I love that movie so much. The music, it is powerful. It's emotional. It's gorgeous, right? But like, if you're gonna build a Coco ride, I don't want a 2.5 minute long Navi River journey. I want to be in that world for a long time. Like the main reason I adored Splash Mountain so much is because it's 10 minutes. You have all these incredible animatronics, the music, the finale. It was perfect. And it's like, if you're going to do something, like, I want that. Like, that's why I'm so excited for The Lion King. because that ride has like 19 scenes supposedly. Like, if you're going to tell the story of the Lion King, I want to be in that world for like 10 minutes. I want to actually feel something going on that ride. So yeah, I'm definitely, I thought originally they were going to demolish that one rectangle building behind Incredicoaster, and it was going to be a big, 60,000 square foot thing. And then I'm like, they're not clearing this land. So yeah.
I've heard internally that all the operations managers are like, we're not losing a thing for this thing. You want to put this in? You can, but you got to work within the confines of this area if you want to choose it.
I can't even necessarily blame them with how tight with space Disneyland is. Like, they probably need that stuff. It's an unfortunate situation. So yeah, it's 11,000. Okay.
Let me ask you one more question, Drew, while we're on California. Pandora, you said you're not that excited. Is it like a location they're putting it in the park, or is it just the idea of another Pandora? Or what is it about?
37,000 square feet. Yikes. Holy crap. That's a big yikes. So I don't know. Yeah, big yikes. I'm concerned about that one too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not concerned about like the story they're trying to tell or the quality of it. It's more of just like, what can you actually do with that? So I guess to answer your question about Pandora, the thing about Pandora that doesn't excite me is like, I just don't feel like I want to step foot into another Pandora land. I don't have any desire to do that. Like, the thought of going to like the different iconic places from the MCU and seeing massive King Thanos animatronics and these big scale scenes, like, that's exciting to me. Having a easy to get on attraction like Flight Lab, where it's not a big ticket, but it's just fun. You just go on and you laugh. It's cool. Like, I'm totally fine with stuff like that. I love all that stuff. Even the thought of Coco, very exciting, right? Like, even if this utilizes, the Pirates of the Caribbean technology over in Shanghai, it's like cool, but maybe it's I don't know. There's just something like in my gut feeling, I'm just not excited for it. Like, if that makes sense. Like, when I think about everything else, I'm like, cool. Like, I'm very excited. Even like, I loved the Liberty Bell and Thomas. Everyone knows that I love that stuff. I've been very critical even about that choice. Like, that was my favorite spot in Magic Kingdom. Like, even just thinking objectively about like a 4-acre national park and having 2 major villains rides, like, I can at least kind of understand that trade-off. I get it. It's Magic Kingdom. Like, you got to evolve the park at some point. And as long as they keep Rivers of America at Disneyland with how much better it is, that's what I think really matters, because that is the original. That's Walt's. They've plussed it. The animatronics, it is just, it's perfect. I love it so much, right? So it's like, I can kind of I get where they're headed with Magic Kingdom, even though it was a rough loss and I had tears in my eyes going on it for the last time. But when I think about Pandora, it's just like, yeah, like, I like Monsters Inc. I love that ride because, again, it's easy to get on. There's no lines. It's an easy thing to enjoy. I love Monsters Inc. I love those characters. I love the music. I get why they're doing it, but it's just like, I would much rather have a different franchise back there. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's just like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but
no,
it's not making me feel something, I guess.
That's a fair point. That's a totally fair point. And that is one of my biggest concerns with it, right? Okay, well, I'll go with the positive first. The positive is that this park needs a little bit of that organic, and I say organic with like finger quotes because I know it's man-made, but more of an organic area. We only really have Grizzly, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have another area where there's actually like trees and like, lushness. Like, I think that will kind of flush the park out. But at the same time, I do see people's concerns, and I actually have the same concern with not the land, because I know the land itself is going to be a banger because, James Cameron is not going to let them like half-ass this thing. Yeah. It's going to be good. But the transitioning is my biggest thing, is like going from, Hollywood Boulevard into that. Is it going to be just like the Batu thing in like Hollywood Studios where you just go under like a freeway underpass thing and then you're in Pandora now? Or is it going to be like, what are they going to do? How are you going to get in the mood for Pandora? Right. That's the thing that's really kind of like racking my brain. And I have a feeling, you guys, I'm telling you, I think another shoe is going to drop. Like either that Muppet, the PhilharMagic Theater is going to go for this project.
I think it's gone.
Right. Or the Hyperion. I think there's more to close. I have a gut feeling about it. We'll see. I could be wrong, but anyway, that's my take on it.
It's a decent take because I think that there is another shoe to drop potentially that we're not seeing. They haven't necessarily said anything about that might actually take place there. Not sure what that is. Really hope they hang on to the Hyperion Theater, but Disney is moving away from live entertainment, which is really unfortunate. At the same time that Universal is actually leaning into live entertainment a little bit. They just one of the Universal creative executives just recently gave an interview talking about how live entertainment was really part of their immersive experience program and everything else. So it's really interesting to see the diverging paths here. But I'm please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, hey, Bricky, friend of the channel, who we love Bricky. He made a great point when it came to the PhilharMagic building. That doesn't give a lot of ROI, right? Let's be honest. A lot of people don't really go in there. It's like whatever. But you bulldoze that thing and you build a Pandora, high-end restaurant, or even like a lamplight lounge level kind of restaurant with drinks and cocktails. Bro, now you're bringing in money, right? And they're going to want to have that component with this land. Absolutely. I don't know. I think that PhilharMagic might be.
Well, no, they'll lose a little bit of that revenue generation opportunity in that area because there are some restaurants, there are some food trucks, and there's some stuff there right now. Now, obviously, it's not as big of a revenue generator as maybe fully fledged out Pandora, but they will lose a little bit of that. Yeah. So obviously, operations will like to reclaim that a little bit and have things pop up in its place. So to your point, when it comes to ROI. Come on, the sky's the limit on some of these structures that aren't. Drew? I think your neck of the woods, they call it underutilized. I think is what they said.
Yeah. I think the word under-optimized is much more appropriate. Like the best way I can describe what we're going through right now is that anything that's not optimized to perform at its full potential, that's what's happening. Pretty much. I feel like over the next 5 years, every single inch of these parks is getting touched. And that's why I feel like Figment at Epcot is inevitable. It's just a matter of when do you finally actually do it? Because it's clearly not making, if Disney updated Figment at this point, they could say that they're doing that to make more money on Lightning Lane sales. It's not the merchandise at this point. It's just getting people in line and spreading out crowds, all that stuff. So I don't think underutilized is the right word by any means, because the Rivers of America is perfectly utilized. It served its purpose perfectly. It's getting away from crowds, enjoying the natural beauty of our country and the history that Walt Disney loved. So it was perfectly utilized, but it's not optimized for return on investment. Lightning lanes, spreading out crowds. That's why it was demolished. So optimization is the word that I always come back to. Is Disney's just optimizing everything. We're kind of in the heart of it, and a lot more is to come for sure.
Yeah. I hope they stop their war against water, though. Jeff Vail was really like, it's just like, if there's water features, they're like, get it out of here. It's like, what happened to you? Like, why do you not like water? Like the Fountain of Nations, and then what we have now at Epcot. I'm like, what is this? That's the garden that has a. I mean, I will listen. That garden, I shield my children's eyes from, because I'm like, you're not. Like, you can't see this yet. It's too much.
I love it. Well, and that's the weird thing too, though, right? With even this Pandora land, is they're going with the way of water stuff,
right?
And even out here in California, they've been cutting back on the water stuff. Like we've been getting a lot of fake grass, so they don't have to water as much, and we've seen the loss of fountains as well. And then they're like, yeah, we're gonna build like this 9-acre area based on water. It's like, what? Like, I don't know.
The water for that attraction. They're like, we only have so much we can use out here. I do think it's. I mean, we've done it before. I do think it's kind of funny that by the time your guys' Pandora Land may open, like all the Avatar movies are done, and like James Cameron's like 92 years old or something. It's just like, I always think of James Cameron as South Park presented him, as like he speaks in third person, and he, James Cameron does what James Cameron does because that's what James Cameron does, and so he comes in there, but. I do think it was interesting. I did talk to an Imagineer that worked on Pandora, and how much Joe Rohde and James Cameron were involved in that land. Like, that's why it took so long, because like, James Cameron just come in there and be like, no, you got to redo this. This isn't right. Like, he is.
Right.
And I think that's why that land was so great. Like, I still love that land, even though I don't like Avatar. Like, I don't dislike it. I just don't care about it. But that land is solid. And I think that is one of the reasons as to why.
And that's probably why this one's taking so long too, with the James Cameron. He's probably in there like doing all kinds of notes. Go ahead, Vash.
John Lando too. Let's cut him at all either. I mean, John Lando was super influential in how that ultimately looked, and unfortunately he's no longer with us. So it's one of those things that's a little bit different this time around. When the original Avatar opens in 2017. By the way, they started work on that in 2011. That's that's the time distillation there.
Yeah.
By the way, I saw this a minute ago. Sorry, I had to go tell my kids good night. That's why I was.
No, you're good. Don't apologize, man.
I didn't have internet issues too much. We had Drunk 3PO show up. He's like, look at this amazing panel. What's up?
What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's going on there, Jay?
I thought I saw that pop up, and then I was like, maybe I was seeing things, but I didn't know what you guys are talking about or not talking about. Are you guys still talking, or
we covered a lot of the California stuff?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna hop at this point. Honestly, it's getting a little late here, but
okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, well, first off, let's just say
guys.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming on. We greatly appreciate it and just hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Where can everybody go find you out there on the internet? Where do you want to point them? You can point them all the places if you'd like.
Yeah, I've been I guess just everywhere: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Substack, literally every single big platform. And writing has been the main thing. I've kind of been trying to do like the updates of like what's happening each week on Substack. So again, I'm sorry I gotta run early, but I tried to.
No worries, man. I appreciate you.
I try to calm down my energy levels a little bit before I go to sleep. Otherwise, I just cannot fall asleep. So
honestly, I hear you. Well, sometimes when we get done, it takes me a little bit to get down, so I get it. But thanks for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. Picking your brain and giving some insights here. And you're always welcome anytime you want to come back on. If you're just like, hey, for sure. I know what I'm talking about. Let me on. Feel free to do that.
I think we'll have a lot to talk about after D23, and hopefully good things, not bad things.
I agree.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye, guys. Talk soon.
Drew, the Disney dude over there. We'll put the links in to his content into the description on my end. I'm sure you guys will as well. So go check out Drew. He's a good dude. He's a chill dude. I like Drew.
He's a chill dude, and he's a great dude. One of the things I wanted to say too, before getting off this topic, just a little bit. Finally, we got some permits related to the construction of that parking structure. That's the kind of the key to unlock everything at Disneyland Resort. So, these things are coming along. It's just taking a little while.
Yeah, the Eastern Gateway they got those permits. I think the cast member parking closes. That Manchester lot closes
right
this month. I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Let me get that. Actually, I got the information here somewhere. I had it in my notes before. Lots of movement here. Let's see if I can load up a couple of different things.
Vash always comes so prepared. I'm like,
he's lightning quick on those tabs. I'm over here like an old man. I'm like, I got my tabs.
You gotta be quick. Later this month, Disneyland will close a cast member parking lot as the first step to bring the Eastern Gateway project to life. Disney will build a 6,000 space parking structure over the next few years. That's by Block Mickey right there. That recently just came out. That's June 9th, 2026. So yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see the Pandora stuff kind of moving a little faster once this comes in, because it's all part of that puzzle piece, right?
It's you got to move this to move this to move this.
The high stakes puzzle operation going on over there. It seems like
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, good news overall. I remember Vash. We did some content on when the Anaheim City Council was going through the approval process. I think that was like 25 years ago.
Oh man, feels like forever ago. Yeah, I remember Eastern Gateway was. I think we're at the 10-year anniversary of that being declined right there. That either happened in 2016 or 2017. It's just absolutely insane. So this has been in the works for a long, long time. In fact, actually, in the Westcott concept, right? If you look at the what is it? The master plan for that, they always intended to have parking structures on both sides of the resort. That was going back to Westcott. So that was probably 95, 96, that kind of thing. And so to have dueling parking structures on each side, it's always been part of the intention for Disneyland Resort. It's just they've never been able to do it until now. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the future of this resort is like, with maybe some of that freedom from alleviating those lots and so forth.
Now, I do want to say, because you brought up Westcott, and Jared, you and I did a great video on Westcott with the Candid Camper.
We did.
And that video was like seriously insane. It was so good.
That was a fun video. We did talk about Westcott. We also hit a few other ancillary topics. I learned to think too about Quizno's ad campaign they had in the 90s. I was like, I didn't remember that. That was awesome.
I know. Westcott to Quiznos, who knows? But I mean, we went there though. We went
it's a
there.
natural progression, really, if you think about it. If you enough time. But what's up, Candid? Candid's good people. Listen, I love it because Candid's not afraid to give his opinion. He'll just be like, hey. If you hate it, it's whatever. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good dude. Right. Absolutely. The last thing we're gonna hit, and I'm curious what you guys think about this because I saw this pop up on Twitter. And do you guys want to hit this up before in Disneyland? I don't want to cut you guys off.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead and switch it. And there's that concept I was talking about before. Go ahead.
All I know is if you guys want to talk about Disneyland, you can go for it. I know nothing about Disneyland, so I'm always learning. Like Westcott, after learning about it, I'm like, I want Westcott. That sounds like I think I did the math. Like the spaceship Earth for that would be almost the size of the Las Vegas Sphere. Would be in the like center of the park. I'm like, I want to see that. That looks amazing. It is
double the size of Spaceship Earth. So that's what you can.
Were they going to put a ride into? There was going to be a ride inside of it too, right?
Oh yeah. There was going to be a ride in there for sure. There's no way it wasn't going to be a ride.
And there was even going to be like water features and everything on that bad boy.
Oh yeah.
I want that to happen so bad. Rebuild the one in Epcot and make that one that big. That's what I say. Turn it into a giant sphere ball. I mean, that would be you could do a lot of stuff like projections and things on that thing. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think so.
Pretty cool.
All right, so obviously listen, it's June, obviously Halloween. We're going to start talking about it now because that's what you do when you're talking about theme parks, and Halloween Horror Nights is a really big event. A lot of speculation about what might be coming. We've had a couple announcements, centers. We also had Dr. Oddfellow and Jack the Clown, at least in Orlando for Universal Studios. But there's an interesting clip that popped up. This is from Universal High, and this, I believe, is Matt Groening. I don't know if it's Matt Groening or not, but it says the showrunner for The Simpsons may have leaked an IP coming to Halloween Horror Nights. So we will take a peek and listen to this, and then see what we think about this.
I mean, like everything has to have a huge lead time, so there'll be 27 will be the best version of that.
Right.
There'll be hopes. Don't be mad, Universal. I love you. This is a spoiler. It's all going to be great. We're with some fun, great ideas for 26 Universal Horror Nights for Simpsons. That's good.
Fun.
The ride itself is, it's hard to change the technology like of the graphics, and the graphics are sort of out of date, but the experience is still great, and the jokes are still good, and it has surprises, and so I just feel like the nuts and bolts of the ride are probably going to stay the same. Maybe we could screw with the pre-show a little bit,
but the experience is going to grow.
I mean, I feel like we have really good meetings about adding fun and scariness and Simpsoniness and silliness around the outside of the ride, and particularly for Halloween. I mean, once we when we were building it, they take you on like a rough draft of it, like before it's done. And so before we went on the kind of rough draft of the ride, they gave us a big free meal at then Doc Brown's Fried Chicken, which is actually the best. I love the Doc Brown's Fried Chicken. On the bone chicken is like KFC plus.
Right.
It's that pressure cooked, really fun.
So
my man. Sorry, go ahead.
It's interesting. Well, on two levels, interesting. They mentions Halloween, and we've kind of talked about how it might be kind of cool to lean into The Simpsons about Treehouse of Horrors and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's also seemingly like this makes me think that Universal is going to keep The Simpsons around longer because that contract is up in a couple of years at least, or maybe in a year. I don't know exact timeline on there. But do you think they're going to bring Simpsons like Treehouse of Horror to Halloween Horror Nights? Because I think that could be pretty cool if they do.
I mean, dude, why not? I mean, look, here's the thing. It's like that would be a moneymaker for both companies. Honestly, like Disney gets a cut from that as well if they sell the merch and all that stuff. And I don't really think Disney has theme park plans for this franchise. And if they don't really have anything on the books, then why not? Right? Let Universal play with it. I don't know.
Well, I think Disney sent out some of those surveys it might have been a year or so ago, asking about Simpson stuff. And ever since then, you haven't heard much rumblings. I kind of tend to agree. They might want to do meet and greets. The only thing I will say is they got the Simpsons movie coming out. Maybe they would like to do some promotions in the parks, but at the same time, maybe they come to an agreement where it's like Universal, from what I'm hearing, they may not be ready to do anything with the Simpsons area yet. So that's maybe one reason it sticks around. I don't think it's there like long term, but if it is going to be around for the next like 5 years, doing stuff like this is not a bad idea. Like Halloween, I mean, the Treehouse of Horror stuff fits perfectly into what, Halloween Horror Nights is. You could do some really interesting stuff there. If it's in the Simpsons area, that would kind of pull people away a little bit, maybe from the other stuff. But at the same time, they have, at least in Orlando, usually one of the houses is in the queue of the Simpsons ride. So they could just use that and put it in the Simpsons land and maybe have some extra stuff in that land. That could be kind of cool.
It could be really interesting to leverage some of the horror aspects, because obviously, I mean, Simpsons has been doing Halloween specials for 20 odd years, right? There's a lot of content to pull from and a lot of content that would be appreciated to see by fans. The thing is, I think you're right, Jared OG. I don't think Disney has real plans to bring this in and incorporate it in their parks currently. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, if Universal maintains their license agreement and keeps paying us, that's a revenue stream for us in the short term, right? Okay, it's like, okay, go ahead and do something here. Now there are some character costumes created, I think, for Marge and Homer, right? That we saw some of those be rolled out for I think D23 some years ago, right there. But I don't think anything has really erupted beyond that. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how, what the future of this specific franchise, where it's looking right now, what that looks like. The fact that they're actually having, talks about maybe incorporating even more here might be a good thing, ultimately. We'll just have to see what that looks like. But for Halloween Horror Nights, that could be awesome. That could be a really great thing. And man, there's a ton of stuff you can bring out for that. Now, I was a little sad. Jared, did you hear the rumors that Ozzy might be featured? And maybe I think we got it recently confirmed that that's off the table, which is really, really sad. I don't like that.
Though, the guy, when he said it though too, he's like, he's not going to give a direct answer necessarily, so it could be a little cat and mouse. I wonder if it's more not maybe featured on Ozzy, but maybe it could be. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. What was his band name again? This is a criminal thing. I can't.
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Maybe it's on that or something. But yeah, I saw that too. But at this point, when it comes to the HHN stuff, sometimes it's like there's just so much speculation. It's hard, and like they're not going to answer. I mean, he might definitively say no, but I don't know. I do hope an Ozzy house would be cool. I think that undoubtedly would be cool with the music.
That'd be so cool.
And they've already shown they can do the music stuff. You had the Weekend and stuff like that, and like. Again, I will say this for years: do a freaking Thriller house, and you will make all the money you can ever make by doing stuff like that. So I think
best year to do it,
100%. It may be too short notice at this point, but maybe next year. But I'm not against, like, I mean, with the Treehouse of Horrors, you could do some stuff that kind of pokes fun at things and pop culture references. Like they could, I mean, if you had a Stranger Things house, you could do a mock, kind of a Simpsons take on Stranger Things stuff. Like there's a lot of flexibility it gives you with what that kind of franchise is at this point. I don't think it would be, I guess I'd be curious about how big of a demand it would have if they did it. I just don't really know what it would be at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Well, Wizard is saying that he heard the DreamWorks Theater at Universal Hollywood will have the Treehouse of Horror show. Yeah, that's interesting. And
that might be a test for bigger things, right?
I would think so. And I like this kind of like these I like this Disney Universal collaborative sort of thing. I want to see more of this. I mean, obviously it's competition and it's always going to be that competitive nature between these two companies, but I kind of like them working together. I don't know, call me crazy, but I think it's kind of cool. Like,
well, if you think from a money standpoint, if they don't have any plans for the Simpsons outside of like some meet and greets, if you're just like Vash was saying, licensing deals are easy money. And so it's like you could probably make more money by letting them keep it as long as they want, especially if you don't have any plans for it. It's like, well,
right.
makes sense to do that, and then they're still making residual income off of merchandise and stuff as well. So
this is so different from like a Marvel thing, right? So like Marvel, they certainly want that, and there are reasons why Universal would keep it away from them. So it's like, man, if we can only work this out. But when it comes to Simpsons, I think the way you've leveraged this for parks or for a theme park space has been properly leveraged to the maximum extent possible by Universal already. So like, what's the upside for Disney investing into their own? I mean, we're already getting comparisons between Spider-Man at DCA versus Spider-Man Islands of Adventure. Like, I don't know if they necessarily want to be in that war again. So it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe this stays here for, at least the near future, maybe until like, at least for Hollywood, or maybe even Universal Studios Florida. They see that this space and it's like, okay, maybe we can develop, better optimize this area, to use Drew's terminology right there, which I think is so spot on. That could possibly be the case. But Theme Park Wizard also saying that he was talking about maybe exclusively the ride itself, which is an interesting thing, right? It's like maybe we do get a film update and some different theming outside. That could be really interesting, potentially.
Yeah, I get the feeling he was in that clip probably talking about Hollywood, given that's probably what he's, I would assume, maybe being, I don't know if they do all their work out in California or not. That part would be interesting because like that ride, at least in the Orlando one, it's an old ride system. That thing is rough. And I think that's one reason. Yeah, like why, if you're looking at what Universal would do, is do something different here. Is not as, it's somewhat where the Simpsons is, because the Simpsons is still relevant, but not where it was like 10, 20 years ago by any means. But that all, the ride system in here, the land itself is definitely aged. And so like, I don't think they would put the money into revamping something for the Simpsons as much as they would something else. But if you're looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to keep it for 5 more years, I don't know how much it would cost to do something with the movie, throw in some seasonal stuff here and there. Like, it's not a bad little, you could almost treat it as like a flex land, like seasonally, because the Simpsons does have that like versatility to the IP. If they do it as an experiment, I would be curious what they would do and really what the reception of it would be.
Would it be the worst thing in the world to maybe develop a new ride film that is maybe variable? That could be a possibility, right? We've seen that a lot from Disney recently, in terms of that, where you have like multiple films that may actually show and it's randomized and all of that. That could be interesting. But to your point, Jared, for like Hollywood, I mean, I've heard some real bad structural problems with the actual building itself, the way it was built on that hill. It was built for Back to the Future back a long time ago, and it's like, that's it's now maybe coming up on its expiration date right there, which I think is interesting. You might have to get around that in some way there. But for Universal Studios Florida, there's so many different plots that are being developed right now for that park. Is Simpsons a high priority for them? It might not be. It might just be like, okay, hey, look, listen, it makes us decent money. We'll just have it there until a really for real better IP or idea comes out. They may just be looking at that, and in order to get more life out of it, maybe they spend a little bit of money in order to get maybe 5-10 years more out of it. To your point.
Yeah, well, I was at Universal this past weekend with our good friend Theme Park Philosophy, actually. And one thing that he brought to my attention, and I've noticed it before as well, but the sideshow Bob hats, like every other person is wearing one. Like really? Those things sell. Yeah, big time. So Disney's making their money, but Universal's making their money too. Moe's Tavern is always packed. That donut shop right there, always a line. Like, so they're making money on this stuff. So right. I think there's an incentive for both companies to be like, why are we going to upset the apple cart right now? Like, like why not just roll with it for a few more years?
Now
it's true.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, so it's interesting with the Simpsons for like years. I mean, the Pokemon Land stuff has been a rumor for a while. And for the longest time, it was like Pokemon is going to go into where the Simpsons is. And then all of a sudden, that switched over to the Lost Continent. So I am curious, and there's speculation out there about DC rights maybe coming to Universal. At least DC and Warner Brothers is almost wanting Universal to do that in Florida. do you put DC in studio side? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, what do you put, at least in the Florida park, at least I'm aware of, like, what do you put to replace that? Like, I think
they might have to, because of the agreement for Marvel. I think Marvel's, if you read the agreement, which is available online, it says that you can't necessarily have another comic book IP in the park in which you have Marvel. Now, some people maybe are looking at that and going, okay, does that mean just park? Does that mean resort? There's a little bit of question mark when it comes to that. But I think the idea was, because remember, back in the day, Universal was courting both. They were courting DC and they were courting Marvel. They had actually drawn up a lot of ideas for DC, never actually went through to the development stage, and then they got Marvel. But I think Marvel, understanding that, says, okay, look, listen, you're not going to boot us for DC later on. We're going to have a little bit of a claim here. And so I think if you do bring DC with Marvel still there at Islands of Adventure, you might have to bring it to another part of the resort in order to be in accordance with that original agreement for Marvel.
Yeah, I've seen some speculation both ways, but I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, what's interesting about that contract is when the state Marvel was in at that time is much different than now, which is one reason why Universal, unless my entire premise has been, unless Disney backs up the Brinks truck, they're not going to give up those rights, because it's worth keeping out of Disney's hands. And it's still a land, like, I enjoy it. It's a time capsule, but I think people enjoy that retro 90s vibe of the comics. But I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, I think when you're looking at islands, you got Pokemon coming into Lost Continent. I know we've talked about, I feel like One Piece would be perfect for Toon Lagoon to put in there. And if you do those two things, all of a sudden Islands becomes a very, very strong park. Absolutely. Like, it already is, you could say, a strong park, but it definitely has some weaknesses. But then on the studio side, you got the new coaster coming in. If you put DC here, then you've got the stuff you're going to do at Epic. Like, these parks will be potentially in the next 5 to 10 years, like, very different with the things you may see around them. And I've heard some speculation too about some other areas of studio side that they may be looking at. You got the Fear Factor thing that's just sitting there. Maybe they do a show there. I've always said, if they're going to bring Wicked in, a Wicked show would probably make more sense, as it's a Broadway thing, and maybe you could still use that for Halloween Horror Nights and stuff. So, as aggressive as Universal's being, I think areas like the Simpsons, like Toon Lagoon, obviously Lost Continent, like, I think you go, kind of like what Drew was saying about Disney, you go in there and start optimizing these spaces more, because, like, if you got Epic out there, you beef up these side of the parks while you're adding to Epic, this entire resort really changes a lot. And if you look at it in like a 10-20 year time span, it'll almost be a completely different resort than what people have really known Universal to be, potentially, at least.
I will say this, though, when it comes to Marvel Superhero Island, I don't think Universal should wait too long, because I don't think Marvel is. It was hot. It was hot, 4 or 5 years ago. It's not getting any hotter, though. I'll say that much. Probably. I mean, yeah. So I don't know how much more they're gonna make going forward, because I think Marvel and even superhero stuff is a little bit it's waning. So I don't know if they would I don't even know if they'd make the same bang for their dollar. Like, if Universal approached Disney in 2019, like, hey, what do you want for these rights? They would have made $1.5 billion. But, like, I don't see the hunger for Marvel, though, right now. Like, I don't see much.
But you gotta think about it the other way too. You gotta think about the other way too, OG. Imagine how much Disney could have benefited from having those Marvel rights, right? That's the other side of it. It's not just how much money you might be able to make, or maybe able to sell this stuff for, but it's the revenue stream that you're keeping out of your competitors' hands.
But is your competitor though making money if the franchise isn't doing so hot? Wouldn't that kind of go across the board, or not?
Well, I think.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I would look at it and say, if you look from the viewpoint of, if Disney gets it, it's still, even though it is waning, they would undoubtedly use it at Disney World, and so that it becomes something that you had. All of a sudden, it's an asset used against you. And even though it has, it's not going to, more than likely, you're not going to see this like pop up to in-game levels anytime soon. But you keep it out of your biggest competitor's hand. And then let's say you do bring in DC, you're the home of comic books on the East Coast for theme parks. And that could be
Pretty
something
much.
you can definitely advertise and use to your advantage. It's an interesting conversation. This conversation always pops up organically every so often.
Every time, yeah.
And I am always very consistent about, like, I just don't see them giving it up. Like, unless Disney just pays the money to do it, I don't think they willingly just stop it on their own. Unless, like, I suppose if they had a massive IP pop off that just was just doing gangbusters, it makes more sense to do it. But at the same time, they have room now with Epic and other areas. Like, you would just be handing Disney something to use against you potentially into the future, would be my
right.
position.
The issue there is that you could have people step away from Islands of Adventure potentially and step to Disney. That's the other thing too, is that
Right.
Obviously it's changing hands, changing pies, all of that, and so it's like Jared said, you're gonna have to back at the brink strike, and they've made it pretty clear, at least when Bob Iger was handling negotiations, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. That's just kind of what it goes. And here's the thing: if Doomsday really does pop off, now we're back. That's
yeah.
That's going to be the interesting thing, because Disney certainly doesn't want that franchise to die, and they're certainly not going to kill it just to get a better value on their Marvel attractions.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily going to happen.
That's the low key. They've been actually devaluing the MCU to get
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Hulu.
Dude, it's crazy. Like dude, when they made the announcement, I think it was in 2017 D23 that DCA was getting a Spider-Man ride. I was like, okay, they don't have the guts to make a Spider-Man ride if it wasn't going to be as good as the one in Islands of Adventure. Well, no, I was wrong. I ate crow on that one. Boy, did I.
I've heard that one's not very good. It's
horrible.
Very good? Yeah.
Horrendous.
It is like one of the rides in all of Disneyland Resort that whenever I visit, because I visit so infrequently, I usually try to get as many rides in there as possible. It's the one ride that I say, no, skipping, which I don't often do. So that might give you some insight into the quality of that
level, like where people just avoid it, like Fast and Furious Supercharged on that level.
I don't think it's that bad, because it is something for the families with small kids to do and so forth. And some people really take to it, right? Just not me.
No, I agree with you. It's a weird ride, Jared, because it's like you have this character Spider-Man, right? Who's like this quick, nimble, kind of lean, fast-moving character, right? And so they decide we're gonna put you in this big toaster oven, like box thing that like chugs along. It's like it doesn't fit the Spider-Man vibe at all. And then the technology isn't even that great, because you can't even tell what web is yours. So you're not even really like doing anything. You're just doing your arms and you're just kind of guessing. It's not as precise as like a Midway Mania, where like when I pull the little lever on Midway Mania, I can see my little dart go.
Right.
With this ride, you can't tell whose web is whose. It's a mess, bro. It's an absolute mess. And that's the other thing too, to your guys' point, Spider-Man in IOA is an award-winning, like, legendary attraction. So regardless of Marvel as a franchise, though, Universal might just want to keep it for that reason. So,
also it should be noted, Spider-Man is literally the biggest Marvel character that they have. Has been for a very long time. And I think even if you're looking at Marvel as a whole, if I'm Universal, it's like I'm holding on to Spider-Man. Because by the way, do you guys know in the comics, because I'm a comic book nerd, Spider-Man, like pound for pound, is the strongest superhero. Like, he's insanely strong and nimble. It's kind of a cheat code when it comes to Spider-Man. But no, and I agree with Wizard here was saying that I think that benefits from not being MCU related. And it's just like comic book land, which makes it evergreen. And I think that is the benefit. And it's usually busy. Like, anytime I'm in there, it's not like it's a ghost town. Spider-Man's a solid ride. Now, one thing that's interesting, and I don't know if you know or not, Vash, because I don't. I've looked at that contract, but I don't know if it's in there. I would assume, let's say I'm Universal, and you got Doomsday coming out. Well, throwing up a Doctor Doom meet and greet would make a lot of sense. I imagine if they didn't already have it established, though, they would have to get that approval from Marvel, and I don't imagine Marvel is going to approve that.
If you were to list it as an attraction, you'd have to get that approval from Marvel. If in fact you just have just Doctor Doom coming out there, you can absolutely do that. They have the ability to essentially within that contract allow for the usage of those characters, whether it be like retail, but also to meet and greets and stuff like that. It's fully within their power to do stuff like that.
Okay.
Now you'd have to do something that was not MCU based, because MCU is a little bit distinct in that regard. You have to be like the traditional Doctor Doom that we might have experienced from the comics back in the day. So it's a little bit touch and go. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. Now, if it's an attraction that's listed like on park maps, that gets into some other territory that Marvel would have to approve or disapprove.
Now here's the thing too, to kind of circle back to Spider-Man. That character moves merchandise, because when they were designing Avengers Campus under Bob Chapek, like 60% of that land is Spider-Man. Okay, that's not a coincidence. That was a spreadsheet move, 1000%.
Well, if you think about it, as big as Spider-Man is, on the movie side, they don't have the rights to Spider-Man. On the theme park side, they don't have the rights to Spider-Man on the East Coast. So they have this huge character that they're not really able to fully utilize probably how they want. And I'm sure that has to be frustrating for them. But if they're able to do it, I don't know why have they not had like an Iron Man meet and greet? Or some of these, even though it's based on the 90s comic book character, I would have assumed like Thor and some of these other characters, when the MC was really hot, having them as meet and greet characters. I mean, maybe they just don't want to do it, but to me, I'm like, man, I would do that.
They have them as walk around characters, if I'm not mistaken. At least like I've seen like X-Men and Captain America and a couple of others.
America, so they haven't had Thor. They have Cap. They have Cyclops, Storm, Rogue, Spider-Man, sometimes Wolverine, but they really haven't added to the roster, I don't think.
Yeah, and so when you're constructing like new assets and stuff, that might be a little bit dicey in that territory. And Iron Man, in terms of a costume itself, that might be a little bit difficult to do. So maybe that they just simply haven't explored that. But yeah, I mean, could they leverage it just a little bit more? Probably. I think from Universal's perspective, I think they're happy where they're at, so they don't.
Well,
but I mean, so, and also to OG's point, when it comes to Spider-Man always has been the biggest merchandise seller for Marvel, and that's going back 30, 40 years. And that's why Universal was like, okay, if we're going to build an attraction out for Islands of Adventure, it's going to be Spider-Man. So.
Yeah. No, he's and in like the comic book sales and everything, well, I guess to your point, meet and greets you're not really making money off those. So maybe that's what they're looking at too. Like, although I wouldn't be shocked if you see a Doctor Doom meet and greet pop up if Doomsday is like this massive hit, but at the same time, maybe they just don't. But we do have a couple of super chats from Ill Magic 94. We got a 5 here. Thank you, Ill Magic. Says, if they remade a Doctor Doom ride, what direction do you guys think they should go in for that type of character and style? Now, well, this would be hypothetical because Universal can't do anything. I personally, if you're going to do a Doom ride, man, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I would almost like to see an actual like Latvia, like his actual country that he runs, have it based in a land. Like, you could do some really, really cool stuff. Doom, I made this argument. Doom is a better villain than Thanos. Like, Doom is a big time villain. And so I have questions about what they're doing with the MCU with him, with RDJ and stuff, but he is a legit villain you could do some really cool stuff with.
Well, he's the second ride, right? The third ride in Superhero Island. He's got the drop tower now.
The drop tower,
not much there, but it's interesting how out of all the characters they choose, like choose Spider-Man, they choose Hulk, they choose Doctor Doom. To your point, Jared, I think Doctor Doom is a huge character that they can certainly leverage right there. At least Disney could. You can go a lot of different realms with this, but it'd be really cool to get something that's a little bit more scary, a little bit more edgy, a little bit more villainous, you know. But from a Marvel perspective, I think that's maybe something that Avengers Campus is lacking currently.
And a little more dark ridey. The drop tower is okay, but Doom deserves a proper.
He really does,
right? Experience. Now, Vash, I want to ask you, with the Infinity Defense, do you think, because it's going to be a mixture of physical sets and screens, right? Is there a possibility that we get like going forward, maybe not, well, obviously not for this movie, Doomsday, but like going forward, that they kind of cross promote this thing through the attraction, and sort of will get like the latest movie incorporated into those screens. They kind of hinted upon it, but do you think they're going to follow through with that?
I think they will. I think they will, because it's really interesting for the 5-year anniversary of Avengers Campus. They're having like these kind of oddball characters be featured there, like Moon Knight and stuff, which is kind of fun. I think they like.
Moon?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's that guy? Just kidding.
Who? Yeah, it's a reference another.
Which is sad because Moon Knight is a legitimately cool character that the show
right
completely messed up.
Oh man, really sad there. But they like the variability that comes with Avengers Campus. Maybe a little bit more than Star Wars, right? It's like just, man, it's like gritting teeth to try to get them to change even 1 or 2 aspects. With Marvel, I think they enjoy not having that limitation. And I think one of the advantages of having maybe a screen-based adventure in the form of Infinity Defense, that we do hear that there's going to be animatronics featured. I've heard that some things have been cut, which is really unfortunate. Hopefully maybe that changes now with Bruce Vaughn, and maybe they're putting stuff back in. I'm not sure. But one of the advantages of having projections in your ride is that you can add stuff in, and you can change stuff according to what's hot at the moment. And I think it's really important for Marvel, because what's hot changes so rapidly. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, remember, it was like the biggest thing since sliced bread. Obviously, that's changed, but you still have a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, right? It's kind of like, that was based on like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, can we do stuff that doesn't age out quite as fast? I think that's what they want.
Yeah. I mean, you could put the X-Men in there if you wanted to, theoretically. I mean, in California at least, you know what I'm saying? You can.
I don't know why they have it. X-Men, oh my gosh. X-Men is still so massive. Wolverine is such a, like, I love Wolverine. He's one of my favorite characters. I don't know why they haven't done more with that. Absolutely. But
I think they might now with the movie coming out. But go ahead.
That they definitely could. I got another 5 from Ill Magic. Is that also, even though we love the Spidey ride, do you guys think a Spider-Man ride could work well as an outside epic roller coaster? I mean, I think any IP could work with a roller coaster. I mean, Spider-Man would make sense. He's very, like you were saying, he's nimble. He flips through. You could have one where it's like you're kind of Spider-Man going through a city or something. You could definitely do Spider-Man that way.
Well, we're getting it in the form of Shanghai, right? Shanghai is developing an outdoor Spider-Man coaster at the moment.
Yeah, true.
Like they're in the process of building it. So we're gonna see whether or not that's viable. It's interesting. OG, maybe you'll back me up here, but Disney, previously when it came to coasters, they didn't usually they didn't previously do the Universal thing where you have coasters out there, and you have these attractions that maybe you would find at like a Six Flags or an Osprey Farm, or even aspects of Universal. Now they're getting into that just a little bit with this Spider-Man coaster. It's a little bit change of philosophy here. What do you think about that?
It is. I personally don't love that, because I see Disney as a separate animal from a lot of these like Six Flags-y parks, right? I don't love that. I mean, I don't mind roller coasters. That's fine. You can do roller coasters and you can have them really well themed. I think Hagrid's is a perfect example. The minecart ride at Magic Kingdom, but just to have some steel monster out there in a Disney park, I don't know. For me personally, it's not like, my favorite, to be honest.
A little different.
It is. So we'll see. But
now, OG, do you happen to have a DJ Khaled sound on your soundboard?
I don't. I saw that.
Okay.
I saw it super. I wish I did.
So Ill Magic has another 10 here in DJ Khaled's voice. Another one. What about a Miles Morales Spider-Man ride?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm not against Miles Morales. My issue with Miles Morales is he should be Robin to Spider-Man's Batman, and you almost have these competing entities about who is Spider-Man. I mean, I think Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Miles Morales, I don't dislike the character, but I don't like how many times it's like trying to replace or compete with Spider-Man. I just don't like that aspect of it. I mean, honestly, with the cartoon movie, like, you could do some stuff with Miles Morales. I'm actually surprised Disney hasn't done more with it. just given kind of the popularity of the Into the Spider-Verse and stuff. But you could see him doing something with it. I mean, you could. It definitely has potential.
Well,
it could provide them the ability to do a proper Spider-Man ride. That's always a possibility, even though it would be Miles Morales. Go ahead, please.
Well, Vash, I was actually going to ask you, in that concept art, I think you had it on screen of the ride vehicle for the Infinity Defense with all the different characters. I think Miles is in that. No,
I think you might be right. Let me see if I can get to.
There you go. Yep.
Oh,
there it is. Is he in there? Maybe
not. I see Peggy.
My teleprompter's a little small here, so you're gonna have to tell me whether or not he is in there. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is. By the way, She-Hulk also in there. So if you love that adventure, there you go. But I think you pointed this out. OG, you were the first one that I heard this from. But you see the depiction of Peter Parker right there, alongside a traditional Spider-Man. To have animation potentially in here as well. That's a really interesting aspect. Who knows if that's survived these various revisions, because I know there's been a lot of them. But that's kind of the flexibility that this ride offers you, potentially.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is that like an old school War Machine on the left in the green?
Oh,
I think you're right. I think it might be.
Interesting. They got a lot of different. I actually looked at this concept art very much. They got a lot of kind of obscure characters in this.
Yes, it's kind of this multiverse,
right?
Sort of attraction, which is it now. Again, like like what Vash was saying, maybe that multiverse element didn't survive. I'm not really sure, but that would be kind of fascinating, right? To have like these animated characters alongside like the real. That's weird, but it'd be kind of cool though,
I think it's I see Daredevil there. And then you have Thor and Lady Thor, which I don't like the Lady Thor thing, but interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, nor did audience. I've never been more disappointed in a movie than Love and Thunder. Gosh, I was so angry during watching that movie.
I will say this: if She-Hulk is in it, then I'll be glad it's 3D. So I'll just say that.
Well, the thing is, She-Hulk is actually a really cool character. And like in the comics, like it was very like risque and like really interesting. And the show it was just a shell of what that character actually is. And like there were some really cool comic runs back in the day with She-Hulk, where I think the thing Marvel got into was trying to say, okay, this is She-Hulk now. She's better than Hulk. You're like, okay, you don't have to tear something else down to make something like these characters can be what, again, not everything has to be a home run. It could be a solid double. That's what I think that's the issue they kind of ran into, is they were trying to use these as mantles, and that's not what these characters are. And maybe they learn from that, but I never looked at that concept art that much. That's kind of interesting, but
fascinating.
It is fascinating. Well, we're at the over 2 hour mark, so I think we're going to wrap this up. But before we get out of here, just want to let everybody know where to catch these gentlemen. Thank you everybody in the chat for hanging out. Thank you for the super chats for everybody. From Il Magic, and we had Kiki and Luca with a member message. Juliet, just thank you guys very much, and then obviously Drew being on. That was awesome having Drew on. So thanks, Drew, for coming on. Before we get out of here, Orange Grove 55. Where can everybody find you? And of course, thank you for being here.
Absolutely, no, it's always fun talking shop with you guys. I look forward to doing these weekly shows with you fine gentlemen, and I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Drew the Disney Dude. He is awesome. Thank you so much, Drew, for coming on today and nerding out with us. But you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking with these fine guys all the time about theme park studio and all that good stuff. Also on X, Orange Grove 55, and also on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Vash Sky with his growing channel. Over 7. I swear you were just at 5,000. You're at 7,000, so it's going great. So
yes, it's insane.
You keep up the celebrations, but it's awesome. But yeah, go check out Vash Sky. Thank you for being here, of course. And where can everybody find you out there?
The best place to find me is going to be probably in Vash Sky, the X account right there. You can go ahead and find me. All of the social media links should be available somewhere in there. We have a growing roster, though, in order to get the word out about the channel, that being Vash Sky ParkCast. Vash Sky ParkCast is something that I was hesitant to do, but man, the overwhelming support from you guys was just blowing me away. It's just like, oh my goodness gracious! So all the credit to you guys out there, the Skyliners, the Sky Watchers out there, obviously the members there. Tomorrow we're going to have a amazing live stream talking about perhaps what's going on at Tomorrowland. Very interesting stuff happening at both Walt Disney World and Disneyland in this regard, which is very fascinating. Perhaps the combined effort to finally fix Tomorrowland on both coasts might be re-emerging again. What's old is new again, and that's going to be a running theme here, I'm sure. So we might be talking about that. We have some other amazing stories that's going to be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and on Saturday for you Sky Watchers out there, you members, we have an amazing show called Vash and Vixen. We actually covered the carousel progress from stem to stern, from start to finish, from Edison Square all the way over to the World's Fair, Disneyland, and Walt Disney World. It's really fascinating stuff right there. So please go ahead and join us if you are a member. That's going to be Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Jared OG, for having me on.
There it is. I love that jingle.
Great. No, and then thank you guys for being on it. You can always find me. I'm at Captain Magic. If you guys aren't on my channel, you can find me. And all your guys' links will be in the description on my end. And go check everybody's channel there. And these are always good discussions. I think maybe next week we might talk about Tomorrowland, because I had a video talking about it, and I've been advocating for Tomorrowland to have an identity for like a decade at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just like, it's a land that my biggest beef is when you're in Magic Kingdom and you walk in there, you have an empty attraction and you have Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which I hate. I hate that attraction. It makes no sense where it's at. So I have some thoughts on Tomorrowland, but I think they may actually be doing something, because when you actually put the pieces together, you're like, okay, well, I didn't really think about it much before, but I think there is something there. But maybe we'll hit that next week, and then who knows what else will come up. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of news come up next week as well. Seems like we always have to narrow down the topics because there's so much stuff out there. But that'll be it for the stream tonight. Thank you, everybody, again for hanging out, and we will see everybody next week. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you later. Bye.